make a video for, I guess, all the people out there that maybe have come into the game late and, perhaps um, you don't know the whole story. You've not been here from the beginning. Well, guess what? I was at Titus's from the very first day. When I say the first day, I'm talking about the first day of the groundbreaking for the House of Prayer, October 4th, 2023. And I'm bringing a witness testimony, to anybody who wants to know the truth about what has happened at the so-called Henson Creek House of Prayer. What I'm about to tell you, I believe is true, and it's truth. It's my opinion, and I don't think there's any question that Henson Creek House of Prayer is fraudulent. No question. Okay. I'm just going to read, what little script I have and kind of work from there. On September 8th, 2023, the GoFundMe called Titus's Church, the two words, Titus's Church, okay? Those were the only two words. The GoFundMe was called Titus's Church. The GoFundMe called Titus's Church was created in the living room of Randy and Brenda Morris, in their home by Peter Santinello and Stephen Haste. My source for this information was Stephen Haste. Stephen Haste is the person, he's actually a YouTuber. He sells horses on YouTube here in Casey County, Kentucky. And Steve was the person that connected Titus Morris to Peter Santinello. If I understand correctly, from what Steve Haste has told me, he met Peter while he was selling horses, I believe, out west, and they had like a friendship or something. And then Steve connected Peter to Titus later. So anyway, the GoFundMe called Titus's Church was created in the home of Randy and Brenda Morris. The description listed even still today, as of today, March 14th, 2026, is Titus's dream. Actually, it says Titus dream. It doesn't say Titus's dream. It says Titus dream. Titus' dream is to build a church to preach to all. Let's all help make this dream come true. That's quote, end quote. I'm going to read it again. Quote, Titus' dream is to build a church to preach to all. Let's all help make this dream come true, end quote. Okay? This GoFundMe has an initial goal of $125,000, and the organizer is Randy Morris. If you go and look at this, this GoFundMe right now, again, this is the GoFundMe called Titus's Church. This is not one of the other 5 GoFundMes. There's also a there's also a GoFundMe by a different name that is very similar. Boy, it gets confusing. So let me just get into this real quick. The GoFundMe's kicked off by Peter giving $10,000 to Titus as apparently the very first donation. On December 6, 2024, the Henson Creek House of Prayer YouTube channel published a video, quote, adult audiences only. Bring your sins to the light, Titus's testimony. Titus Morris and Charles Clow. And they repost the Titus's bestiality confession video. And after Charles and Titus talk at some length about me and confession and whatnot, Titus starts going into like denying when he points up on the hill. He denies that, the house of prayer, as he later called it. Titus actually denies that that's a church. But the GoFundMe was to build a church, okay? The GoFundMe from the very beginning was called Titus's Church. Yet after he got the money, okay, I noticed around Christmas, December 25th of 2024, I noticed that the name of the GoFundMe was changed from the two words, Titus's Church, to Titus's House of Prayer. I just mentioned that there was a second GoFundMe that was subsequent to that, and that was called Titus Morris House of Prayer, right? See how confusing this is? It's bait and switch. This is my opinion. It's a fraud. It's a total fraud, okay? So let me back up. September 8th, 2023, that's when the GoFundMe, the very first GoFundMe was, created, okay, to create this church for Titus. Me, my son, lots of guys came from all over the country to come and build this church. We didn't I think in the back of my mind, I kind of knew there was something off with a guy building a church on his own land because, there you have it. Like, how do you wrestle the 8,000 pound gorilla out of the church that he owns where there's no deacons? I figured that out later, that there would be no deacons. I asked Titus about it, and he said, yeah, we're not going to do that. So Titus has on camera on numerous occasions, Titus has called it a church when I was there in October 2023. And even later, he's called it a church on camera in like every possible sense of the word. He's referred to it as a church, okay? Yet in December of 2024, after I exposed, that Titus was going to live in the house of prayer with another man's wife, Titus's best friend, okay? Titus tried to hijack Jeff Kane's family. There's no question, They got pretty darn close to pulling that off, I must say, okay? Getting off on a tangent here, but it's not. It's just like one big thing that once you unravel it, there's so many red flags in every direction that it'll make your head spin, okay? So again, I'm coming here as a witness from a guy that was here from the very beginning, at least of the construction of the house of prayer. My witness and my testimony in this situation is to tell you, I believe it's a fraud. I'm performing journalism here, and I don't know if God is using me in this situation. That's for you to decide. I don't know, but I can tell you that I am guided not by money, okay, but my conscience in this. My conscience tells me to expose this. There's so much wickedness. I believe and I know in my heart and through my eyes and my experiences, there's so much wickedness taking place there, okay? And through this situation, continually, he's backed by his mom, okay? She was just down there recently. No matter what, she backs him, okay? It's a true cult. In my opinion, what Titus has going on down there is not a church. It is a cult. So the modus operandi, for Titus and Stephanie is that when you catch them in a lie and you expose them, buddy, they're going to come after you legally. And Christians do not do that. Guess what? I believe in my heart they are not Christians whatsoever. These are not Christian people. These are wicked people. What they've done is an abomination. Titus and Stephanie, let me get back to the planned engineering of destroying Jeffrey Kane's marriage and separating separating Jeffrey and his wife and his kids. Okay, so the GoFundMe's kicked off in September of 2023, and then the money comes very quickly. Way more money than they expected actually came in. Okay, and then me, my son, and a bunch of other people from all across the country came for the groundbreaking in October of 2023. And I made the first and then second of, I think it was, I want to say 12 trips. It was either 11 or 12 trips I made to Titus's, as a volunteer in 2023 and 2024. I spent a total of approximately 58 nights at Titus's as a volunteer, working and whatnot. And I had wanted to start a YouTube for many years, and I just never did it. I've always had like a journalistic kind of bent. I've always kind of had, journalistic aspirations. And it's very hard to nail down what I am and what I do because I'm kind of interested in everything: rock climbing, caving, the outdoors. I like to work with my hands. I like to write. I like to make videos. I like to take photos. I used to be very heavily involved in cave photography. I've edited a book. So in January of 2024, I started a YouTube channel, and I was trying to think of a name that fit me, and I chose Beyond Category because it fits me. I mean, how do you dovetail me? It's kind of difficult. If I told you all the hats I've worn in my life, okay, and all of the professions that I have held, it's been a mess, but I think you'd find it very interesting. Maybe I'll write a book someday. I've had a very interesting life. But let me get back to, I'm kind of going off script now, and there's not much of a script from here. I just wanted to start with the fact, I don't think there's any question, that the house of prayer from the beginning was fraudulent. And let me go into that a little bit further by bringing up, the destruction of Jeff's family. So we are there, we're there as volunteers in October of 2023. And, Jeff Kane was there, Stephanie was there, their children was there at Titus's on a regular basis, because Jeff and Stephanie, and they lived like a mile and a half from Titus, okay? And, in the beginning, everything seemed to be just totally cool. Stephanie was working for Titus. She's married to Jeff. I'm there. I had seen Jeff on camera, previously. Make sure the sound's good. I haven't even checked the sound. I haven't even read. I'm sorry, folks. I can't keep up with reading the comments in real time. I might scroll back, but I'm just trying to keep focused, because going live is hard enough for me. Some people, I guess, have more experience, or they're more confident or whatever. But yeah, I'll just try to stay focused here. Where was I? So yeah, I had met the Canes there in 2023. And I thought Jeff was great. I thought Stephanie was cool, Obviously, I thought Titus was cool. There were red flags about Titus and the whole thing from the very beginning. Yeah. But, I kept going back because it was incredible. And, I started my channel in January of 2024, and I kept going to Titus's, and my channel just took off. And I was promoting Titus, okay? I was promoting what has turned out to be a cult leader. And I'm here to tell you that's what happened, okay? There's no question. I believe Titus Morris is a murderous cult leader. I believe Titus Morris, and I have no problem going to court, Titus Morris. I have no problem going to court, Stephanie Morris. Stephanie continues to, solicit money to sue me and Stephen Henson. Well, I'm not Stephen Henson, okay? I'm Aaron Atz. And we're two different people. And, I've kind of come to like Stephen Henson to some degree, but we're two different people. I'm just going to say that. Yeah, focus. Where was I? So I meet Titus and Stephanie and Jeff, there in 2023. And me and my son go up there, and we just have an incredible time. I went back in December of 2023. And, buddy, things had moved so quickly. On the day I left, in October of 2023, I want to say it was like October 20th of 2023, maybe the 22nd. I'd have to look. Anyways, on the day that I left Titus's for the second time, it was the day that Jeffrey Kane and Stephanie Kane, Titus's now wife, that was the day that they left to go to Kansas, to her mother's house in Kansas. And that's Connie Bright. Hindsight being 2020, it's just interesting how, I don't know, how things all kind of, happen. And so by the time they came back from Kansas, I guess about 2 weeks later, sometime it might have been November 4th of 2023, by the time they come back, they're already separated or in the process of separating. Things really fell apart out there. And I have no question, based on what I know about Connie, she was probably, I believe Connie was assisting with this division of the family and whatnot. And so, I've been around Jeff. He's a very reasonable guy, okay? He's not, let me get into it. So this is kind of evolving into me describing, let me plug this in just in case we get low on battery. This is the height of YouTube, people. I'm telling you right now, me plugging things in. Okay, sweet. All right, do we still have sound? Yeah, Steve Haste is a YouTuber. He's got a YouTube channel called Haste Draft Horses and Mules. So I see your Montekia 19. I see your question there. And Steve connected Peter with Titus. Anyway, December of 2023. I actually arrived at Titus Morris's on Christmas Eve, okay? And that was my third trip to Titus's. And it was really neat to be there. I had seen the Morris family, and Titus and his mom, I guess a little bit, on YouTube. And here I am in the middle of it. It's kind of like watching, television, and then then all of a sudden you're in the middle of it. It was kind of exciting. This is before I started my channel, of course. So I spend Christmas in a cave with Titus and other people. And then Christmas evening, we went to the home of Randy and Brenda Morris. Oh, and I'm just going to tell you a testimony because it happened. Here's another testimony, okay? It's Christmas evening. And I don't think I've ever said this before on camera, but this is just one of those things that, if you're paying attention, you'll see these things, major red flags. I'm in Randy and Brenda Morris's living room, okay, on Christmas evening. And I'm sitting there on the couch, and strangest thing, there was there was like a Post-it note written in like Celtic runes, runes. It's like a symbolic language of sorts. And I've looked it up, I've kind of read into it, and it does seem to kind of dovetail with witchcraft. Take that with a grain of salt, okay? But according to Titus, that is a language that his younger sister invented. Whatever, okay? His sister was present, and we're sitting there on the couch. And I'll never forget this. He's talking to her, and she's talking to him, and she just kind of off the cuff says something like, "Ha ha, I hate you and I hope you die, Titus, ha ha." And it was like really strange. It's Christmas evening, and we're sitting there, and I'm like, this is kind of strange. Like, what is that? And I was around her on two different occasions. The second one was the day of the eclipse. I believe that was April 8th, 2024. And as we were climbing up onto the then unfinished roof of Titus's trailer, okay, on that day. I remember, we're climbing up onto the roof on a ladder, and she basically said kind of the same thing. I hate you, Titus. I hope you fall through, and I hope you fall off the roof and die, or something like that. Okay, that's my testimony. I was there. I heard it. I asked Titus about it later. I was like, "Hey, Titus, like on two occasions, I was around your sister, and I heard her say, these things about she hates you and she hopes you die, and like what is that, And Titus basically said that, I think Titus, when Titus is caught, in a way, he'll just, he'll project, well, they've got demons. I'll let that be my answer. He'll just project, oh, that person's got demons. They need to be cast out. So, you can read into that, but that's my testimony. I was there. I'm just telling you what happened. I'm comfortable to go to court and talk about it. I have no problem doing that. And Titus and Stephanie, I just want you to know, if you really want to sue me, if you want to go the direction of suing me and deposing me, I have no problem doing that. Okay? Titus, I don't think you want to be deposed. Okay? I know so much. Other people know so much. The information's out. It's not just in my hands. Okay? If you want to go that route, we can go that route. I have no problem doing it. And the truth, Titus, the truth will set you free. Or as to quote Jeff Kane when he sat right there, sometimes the truth will put you in prison. Actually, he said it in front of the house of prayer. That was a big day, actually. We had just gotten out of court. It was, I believe it was March 10th of 2025. And I wasn't really expecting to be in Casey County that day, but they had court, and I was in Indiana and just kind of ran down here. And if you only understood the context, okay, of why we were standing in front of the house of prayer on March 10th, 2025, if you only understood, my goodness, like what it meant for Jeff to stand there, okay? You have no idea, okay? These people who have attacked Jeff and tried to take his children away from him, okay? From December 15th, 2023 until, I guess it was March 24th of 2025, okay? So in that, what was that, 16-month period or whatever, I can't do the math in my head so good. In that 16-month period, Jeff was absolutely at war. On the receiving end, they say in Washington, D.C., if you're not on offense, you're on defense. And if you're on defense, you're losing. Okay? He was continually on defense. He's getting death threats. Titus Morris on June 15th, 2024, I filmed Titus Morris in his driveway around 7 o'clock in the morning. And he was making, he made a false prophecy. He said it will not go to trial on June 28th. And that was like 13 days before court on June 28th. And guess what? That was a false prophecy because he was in court on June 28th, 2024, being forced to answer questions by Jeff's attorney, Nolan Weddle, about banging horses and skinny dipping with a minor. Okay? This is just the stuff that we know. This is just the stuff that has come to light. This is just the stuff that witnesses, who have not been intimidated into oblivion, okay? They're witnesses who went to court and spoke against Titus, neighbors and different people and victims, okay? These people are so dangerous. There are neighbors, okay? There are people in Casey County that are terrified to get involved because they don't want their house burned down because of things that Titus has said. This is my testimony, and it's true, okay? For you people who are late to the game and you're defending Titus, and maybe you're saying that I'm a bully or whatever it is, okay, because I'm performing journalism, First Amendment protected activity, okay? And I'm going out in front of the house of prayer, or I'm walking my dogs down Henson Creek Road, or I'm riding a bicycle down there. Okay, for one, I'm in public, I'm not trespassing. And Titus chooses to come out and engage with me whenever I do those things. And he's trying to spin it. In my experience, Titus Morris is the most manipulative person I've ever been around. Stephanie, right there with him, she's probably a close second, but it's hard to define who's running who. Same with Brenda Morris. It's hard to figure out who the cult leader is. I think there may be 3 here: Titus, Brenda, and Stephanie. Write it down. I believe that's a fact, okay? I do. I don't think Randy's running the show. Yeah, that's a whole other issue. Randy Morris, woo, a lot of water under that bridge. All I know is that guy, according to Titus and according to my experience, he's not in the state very much, in particular whenever there's court happening. Oh, I got one for you, people. I got one for you. Write it down, okay? Sources have told me in the church that Titus was kicked out of, Grove Seventh-day Adventist Church here in Casey County, okay? I believe it was post-2020. Don't quote me on the date. I've got it, just don't have it here like in my head at the moment. There was a time when they had elections in the Grove Church where Titus, Randy, and Brenda, where their family were members or are members. Titus got kicked out, but I think Randy and Brenda still go there, okay? Last I heard, they still do. Well, so they're having like deacon and elder elections, but someone in the church, I believe it was Linda Wraithley, and hey, I like Linda, just saying, she's testified against Titus and Stephanie. I don't know how she feels about me, but I gotta say, I like Linda Wraithley. I thought she was honest, Anyway, I believe it was Linda Wraithley, don't quote me, but someone within the church was pushing for, if you were gonna run for an office, that you had to have a background check. And guess who didn't wanna have a background check? Guess who fought the background check? And hey, if I'm getting the facts wrong, Randy, Brenda, Titus, if I'm getting the facts wrong, sue me, take me to court, let's talk about it. Why did Randy and Brenda vigorously fight background checks? What are they trying to hide? Who are these people? Where are they from? What is their criminal background? I think it's fair to ask. I think it's completely fair to ask. What is going on? When you scratch the surface here, which I've been doing now for, since, arguably since October of 2023, I've been scratching the surface. In particular, since the evening of August 17th, 2024, when my son, Christian Atz, okay, he was 19 at the time, he more or less interrogated Titus. I was really proud of him. It was slick, man. When my son found out about the horse banging, I told him at one point in 2024, and he was like, "Dad, that's too much. Can't do it." He's like, "This is crazy." He's like, basically, he was like, wanting to divorce, himself from Titus and basically think of him as an abomination. And I was like, it's complicated, okay? It's really complicated. But anyway, there was a time when I guess I was pro Titus. Then there was a time when I was just gathering facts and I was trying to figure out, and I was trying to also hold them to accountability and whatnot. I digress. On the evening of August 17th, my son more or less interrogated Titus and got him to admit that he was going to live in the house of prayer with Stephanie Kane, Jeff's wife, and their children. The children were going to live on the, I believe, third floor. Maybe it was the second floor. I forget. I don't know. It's been a minute. And there was a no contact order, and there still is, between Titus and Stephanie's children. So it seems to be quite a stretch to imagine that Titus and Stephanie could live in the home with her kids. And so, gosh, like I said, when you start to peel this apple or unravel this orange, there's quite a mess, man. Like, it just keeps going. There's so much rotten fruit. There's so many facts to come to light. Like, I've got a pretty good handle on the facts in my head. My head does tend to spin quite a bit. There's just so much that's happened. So Titus tells me, I guess it was probably in July of 2024. He shares with me that Stephanie's the one who's designed the house of prayer, or the church. So there was a time whenever it was called Titus's church. Again, from the very beginning, he gets the money. Once he gets the money, and it was, they were asking for $125,000. They end up getting $251,000. But once he gets the money, around Christmas of 2024, he changes the name of the GoFundMe from Titus's church to Titus's house of prayer. So, it's a grift, in my opinion. There's no other way. It's fraud. They committed planned fraud. And I think this goes back way longer than just the GoFundMe. This goes back, I think, further than Peter Santinello coming. I think they had this planned out for a very long time, possibly years. I mean, I have assembled a timeline of information. It's incredible how much. But I have felt led to do this. I don't know if it's going to be a book. I don't know if it's going to be a Netflix documentary. I don't know what it's going to be. But I'm not going to keep it under my hat. What is going on down there is absolutely wicked. It's absolutely wicked. Never seen anything like it. And if Titus truly, loved me as a Christian, and if he truly was a Christian man, he wouldn't chase me with a chainsaw like he did on February 18th, 2026. So, my two dogs, Archie's at my feet, Jake's over here in the chair. My two dogs were being turkeys. They were being dogs, and they ran off up this valley right here, and I've got them air tagged, and they weren't showing up on the air tag, because out here, there's hundreds of acres in every direction, and the closest road's a long way away. It's at least a half mile to a mile in every direction. Okay, yeah, that's true, and Anyway, and I'm like, from where I am right now, it's like a mile and a half to Titus's by road. So they went that way, but I was afraid if they would go that way, they'd end up at Titus's. And that would be a problem because Titus made a video admitting to cutting down these two trees. He cut down the first tree on February 18th, 2026. And he admitted to trying to drop the second tree to trap me. And then he ran at me with a chainsaw, okay? Somehow this, Titus Morris, this spin doctor has, spun this and manipulated this into a strength. Well, he's tried, but he can't. It won't stand up. Titus committed criminal confinement, okay? And he used the deadly weapon, chased me with a chainsaw, roaring with one hand at me, with my vehicle. This is Kentucky, and I don't have murder in my heart, okay? I don't want to go there for so many reasons, okay? But in Kentucky, you chase somebody with a deadly weapon in that way, and you try to confine them. Hello, But that's not me. I think most men here who might have been armed would have taken those actions. I chose not to. But I do think that from here on out, I need to protect myself. Like, I've got to be careful. So let's get back. Boy, it just keeps going. There's just so many angles and things I can go into. So, Titus had on the morning of June 15th, 2024. This is like, me going off script. When I go on script, I think it's really good. When I go off script, it's just different. But bear with me. On the morning of June 15th, 2024, Titus prophesied falsely that it would not go to trial on June 28th. And then he said, let's see, we are praying that if it's God's will, that God will take Jeff out. And then, like, I think that they're planning to hire a hitman to have Jeff, whacked, as they say. And Stephen Henson testified in Casey County Family Court on March 24th, 2025, not quite a year ago, that Titus and Stephanie offered him $25,000 to unalive Jeff Kane, okay? Titus Morris admitted on February 18th, 2026, in a video where he admits to dropping that tree and trying to drop the second tree, chase me with a chainsaw, and then he tries to spin it to a strength. But he admitted to trying to stomp Archie, my dog down here at my feet. He tried to stomp Archie to death. I'm trying to point out that he's not a Christian man, he's murderous, okay? He's got murder on his heart. No question, folks, no question, okay? I have not called the state police on this. The federal authorities have been advised, okay? It's there. I've spoken to them. I have spoken to federal authorities about that incident. So, Titus, if you want to continue to make things worse, that's up to you. I don't know what is in store for me if I go and live stream or try to live stream again in front of the house of prayer. I don't know. What I see right now, again, I'm getting off tangent, and I'm trying to talk about Jeff and his state of mind on March 10th, 2025. Okay. Okay. Double tangent. What was I saying? Yeah, I don't know what's in store for me down there, but some people are asking me, like, aren't you afraid? Aren't you afraid that he's going to, unalive you or whatever? And it's like, I think if I were to be, packing when I go down there, I think that I wouldn't be relying on the Holy Spirit. Does that make any sense? But that's like a whole other thing. It's complicated. There comes a point when you do need to protect yourself. There comes a point when having a camera or the appearance of a camera or the appearance of something else actually, does as much as the other, So take that with a grain of salt. So Jeff is sitting here on, I believe it was March 11th, 2025. And he's royally freaked out. And I gotta admit, like, I was rattled too, because, Stephen Henson, the guy testified that Titus and Stephanie offered him $25,000 as a contract to take out Jeff, okay? We both thought that Steve might come and unalive Jeff or unalive me, okay? It doesn't really matter anymore to me. I'm kind of over the whole Stephen thing. It's complicated. I don't necessarily trust Steve. He's given me a lot of good information, and I appreciate that. It's just complicated because Steve was the guy who started giving me and my son death threats. And Steve, and I'm not trying to badmouth Steve. I'm just trying to be accurate here. Steve texted me last fall and told me that Titus, paid him to, mess with me and my son. And I don't think there's any question, the death threats coming from Stephen Henson, Titus paid him to do it. There's no question. And they started approximately 6 days after me and my son made a video on August 20th, 2024. We made a video called Publicly Rebuking Titus Morris According to Scripture. We made it in Alabama. And then the death threats start 6 days later. And my son was getting text message death threats. I was getting text message death threats. And they were very carefully worded, okay? And then as time went on, Stephen started his own channel in December of 2024. And then, like, golly, like February of 2025, Steve was getting a little cray cray. And, saying that the cornbread mafia was going to cut off my genitals and put them into my mouth for talking about, whatever. It just kind of like got a little crazy. It got a little personal. But like I said, like, Steve's interesting and I'm willing to just like forgive and move on there. But that's a whole other thing. So we're here. Jeff's freaked out. Like I've mentioned before that on that day I drove Jeff around and I felt responsible for Jeff. Like I used to promote Titus Morris, okay? Like on YouTube. And here we are like reunited as friends who were friends in, late 2023. And then after he separates from his wife, okay? I'm down there with Titus for like almost the next, 9 months, 8 months. And, I think Jeff's family probably saw me. How could they see me as anything but like a turncoat or I'm in with the cult leader. I'm promoting this cult leader on YouTube, So he forgave me like instantly, which was cool, but I felt so bad about promoting Titus. And that's like one of the reasons I have not given up on this, like Titus Morris, you're not necessarily the worst person in Casey County. You're not necessarily the worst person in Eastern Kentucky or Central Kentucky. You're not necessarily the worst person in Kentucky, but you may be the worst person in the history of Kentucky. Write it down. I said it. If you want to go to court, I'll back it up. Titus Morris, you're probably the worst person in the history of Kentucky. And this is journalism based on my experiences. There are conflicts of interest here, but it is what it is. This is my testimony about the situation. And there's this guy in Ohio, made a video recently, and my name was not mentioned. But I'm pretty sure he was talking about this situation, and it's like people like to, make an accusation. Well, you're obsessed about the situation or whatever. Hey, look, I'm obsessed with the truth, and I don't think that's a negative trait. I don't have a problem telling the truth. I think a lot of people do because they're afraid. Solomon Hirschberger's still dead, Titus declared his death to be a judgment from God. And that was on the first time that happened was May 16th, 2024, the day that Solomon died. Titus called me and declared his death to be a judgment from God. And I asked him around October 20th or 21st or 22nd. We had multiple conversations. Me and Titus and Eli Yoder and me and Titus had conversations in October of 2024. This is, of course, after I've left and I'm now Titus's enemy. And Titus has no filter. I've said this so many times, I don't know if I've said it on camera, but Titus's desire for attention far outweighs his desire for self-preservation. I said in I think it was my previous video, I don't defame Titus Morris. Titus Morris defames himself. So anyways, I'm talking to Eli Yoder and Titus, or just Titus. And Titus is, admitting all these crazy things. But he'll go and twist it. It's like, well, yeah, this boy was there and there was a circumcision, but I circumcised myself. That's the spin. Didn't happen that way. The boy circumcised him. They planned it for 2 years. What is that? Alone in Titus's trailer, and Titus almost died. Titus told me if it wasn't for a bread twist tie, that he would have died. He was alone at one point, that person went home. He was alone. And he took a twist tie. Well, he was like, getting so weak, he almost expired, But he got that twist tie, and that's what kept him alive. Eli Yoder, if you saw that video, a lot of my stuff was copyright struck. I would go and, using journalism, journalistic YouTube, I would go and take, clips of their content and build a story using things they had said. And they would copyright strike it, which is interesting because if it's true, why do you have to copyright strike it? So there's a lot of stuff that was on my old channel that's just not on my new channel. So Time will tell. Hopefully I'll get my old channel back, but that's a time process. Where was I? Talking about Solomon Hirschberger's death, that being a judgment from God. Jeff was rattled. Yeah, so we're sitting here. Jeff literally thought, he was really scared. Okay, that guy was so incredibly intimidated. And what I'm doing is not for everybody. What I'm doing is not for every man. I have invited so many of my friends from Alabama, Kentucky, Indiana, old friends, caver friends, whatever. I've invited friends of mine to come here and, come down for a day or whatever and hang out with me or whatever, see Casey County. No one wants to do it because they're terrified. Well, I don't know about terrified, but they're scared, they're just too scared to come. And y'all know who you are, and sack up. Come on, I've been doing this for a year and a half. I don't have a scratch on me. Come on, guys. Titus and Stephanie certainly did attack me last year legally, and I got some nonsense subpoenas. They made Stephanie tried to how can I put this? Stephanie did not have custody of her children. Okay. She lost custody of her children. You got to remember, hell hath no fury like a woman scorn. Well, tell me, how much fury does a woman who has lost her children, okay, how much fury does Stephanie Morris have towards me? It's not my fault that you lost your kids, Stephanie. You made that manger, go lay in it. You made that manger, go lay in it. Yeah. Oh, I can't help it. Stephanie, you married a horse banger. You married a guy that allowed a little boy to circumcise him in secret, and they planned it for 2 years. You chose Titus Morris, a guy who admitted to skinny dipping with a boy in a creek on multiple occasions, Henson Creek. There's no place to swim on Henson Creek. I've walked Henson Creek. The water is at the deepest 6 inches, okay? Didn't happen, The baptism site, that's not Henson Creek. And it's not deep enough to swim there either. It's not even knee deep there. So what is that? What is that? I fully believe, and Titus, if you want to go to court and get deposed, I've got a lot of facts that you could be deposed about. And if you want to go to court, let's do it. Let's do it. I fully believe that Titus Morris is a clear, obvious, admitted abuser of children. And I'll even say an abuser of children. I don't think there's any question. But if you follow Titus's channel, you listen to him and Stephanie's narrative, they twist everything, they deny everything, and they're really good at manipulation. I believe that manipulation is one of the core tenets of witchcraft. I have no doubts. I made a video called, Is There Witchcraft on Henson Creek, or Witchcraft on Henson Creek, whatever it's called. Watch it, make up your own mind. It's not an algebra problem, it's not a measuring tape. Witchcraft is very difficult to prove. It's very imprecise. We're dealing with things in the spiritual realm, okay? But look at the fruit of their lives, look at the fruit of their situation. Start with the GoFundMe, start with the house of prayer and whatnot. And by the way, gosh, this just Pandora's box just keeps opening. There's just so many ways to go, and I feel like I'll start talking about one thing and then I get off on another tangent. The house of rot. Titus said in a video, I don't know, a month ago or so, Titus said in a video that the house of prayer, it will be completed even if it takes 10 years. I ain't no construction expert, but Titus, if you've got house wrap, that supposedly keeps the the moisture off the building. If that house wrap is just blown the tatters, okay, and then when you put it back up on certain sides of the building, it looks like a quilt. It looks like some kids. It looks like a bunch of children got together, like duct taped a whole bunch of house wrap on the side of the building. Okay, so and then there's most of the building right now, at least as far as the three sides I can see, let's see. I guess the east face has house wrap, and just a tiny, maybe 5% is covered with siding. The front has a roof over it now, and I forget what the house wrap looks like, but the west face, there's almost no house wrap on it. It's just bare wood exposed. And I believe they used spray foam to insulate that from the inside. So if you've got spray foam on the inside and that, that OSB or whatever it is, if it's getting wet, it's the house of rot, man. Say what you want about getting it completed, but Titus admitted to me back in July of 2024 that Stephanie designed the house of prayer, and Randy backed that up. I think it was the day before the rebuke video, August 19th, 2024. I called Randy. He was out west. I think he was in South Dakota. And I was telling him, this still looks a little bit crooked. Now it's off the other way. But I was telling Randy, your son was in court on August 14th. Lead your family. What's going on? I actually told him that. And he was telling me different things. And I was asking him questions about the house of prayer. And he actually told me that there wasn't enough money to finish the house of prayer. I didn't believe him at the time, but now I'm kind of seeing that that's true, obviously. And that he said that Stephanie over-designed it. She designed it, and she made it too big. I think, obviously, Titus and Stephanie thought the money would just keep coming in, and Titus said in a video recently that he's wanted that land across the road for a very long time. And I'm questioning now. I got to be careful with these tangents, and I don't want to say tangents, but theories. But you're what else are you going to do other than take the facts that and try to, solve for X, try to figure it out. So I'm not wrong for asking and hypothesizing, trying to figure out what's what, okay, in all this. But house of prayer, Stephanie over-designing it. Yeah, where was I going with that? Oh, yeah. Titus mentions that he mentioned in a video just, I don't know, a week or two ago that he wanted the land across the street for a very long time. I hypothesize and I speculate. I'm speculating here. This is just my speculation. I wonder if the Peter coming was a way to get that land across the street. They say they're like a planned way. I don't know if there's a secret contract between Peter and Titus. I don't know if Titus paid him to come and make those videos. I don't know. But I'm telling you, I know enough about doing the research of the transactional, the movement of the deeds between Ricky Franks and Kumsa Cuff, and then Kumsa Cuff to Titus, the lawsuit between Ricky Franks and Kumsa Cuff, okay? And then it was settled actually out of court about the time that Titus actually, and we don't know the settlement. I've got all the paperwork that I think that you can get from the courthouse about that lawsuit, Kumsa Cuff versus Ricky Franks. Again, I'm talking about the, Ricky Franks sold the House of Prayer land to Kumsa Cuff on a verbal contract, which who does that, right? Especially whenever you're Kumsa Cuff and you own a lot of land and this is not your first rodeo. That dog won't hunt with me. That makes no sense. Anyway, there's a situation when there's a lawsuit. She sues him for breach, and they end up settling out of court after quite a number of court appearances and, him and Holland. And then, the final agreement, I guess, is private in between Kumsa Cuff and Ricky Franks. I question whether or not Kumsa Cuff is the secret donor that loaned Titus the $100 and some thousand to buy the 55 acres that the House of Prayer is on. Now, I'm speculating. It could be Charles Clow. It could be Randy Morris, okay? Charles could have done it. Charles apparently has no problem backing a horse banger. He's done it. So many things have come out, for example, about the murder for hire testimony, okay? After a certain point, people like Charles, and Charles, if I'm getting this wrong, correct me, okay? Let me know. I don't think you want to know these things, There's been a lot of people who, I don't know what it is, man. They're sucked in, and it's the more facts that come out, the less they want to know about the truth. And I don't know exactly what is going on. There is something bigger going on here. I don't think there's any question. Um, there's narcotics. I'm telling the truth here, people. There's a demonstrated existence of narcotics activity that has been documented around Titus. Titus has acknowledged this on camera. Okay, the House of Parasite, from what I understand from Titus, used to be a narcotics trafficking site. Okay, Ricky Franks owned the land then. Okay, Ricky and Rose Franks. And Stephanie has a secret home on the land adjacent to the House of Prayer site. Okay, it's right across the road from Ricky and Rose Frank's land, and it butts up against Megan Kendrick's 1.033 acres. So Stephanie has this secret home. She calls it her pole barn house. It's in the name of her mother, Connie Bright, who lives in Kansas. Connie Bright, from what Nolan Weddle brought out in court, a former resident of the Larned State Mental Health Facility in Larned, Kansas. So if you have any questions about that, you can ask Titus or Stephanie or Connie. Connie wrote a book. Connie wrote a book about being in jail. It was called Loverboy, and that's Titus's mother-in-law right there on the cover of the book. And yeah, she writes a book about her time in the Crawford County Jail in Kansas. To be honest, I've not finished the book. I'm like 75% of the way through. It was just so ridiculous and so awful. And I felt like I got enough out of it. I haven't finished it. So I can't with great confidence say that she does or does not talk about her time in Larned, but I'm aware of her time in Larned, okay, because it came out in court. Let's see, what else can I tell you about Connie? Yeah, so Connie owns this 13.84 acres that, Stephanie's secret pole barn house is on. I believe it was on... Let's see, this stuff makes your head spin. I believe it was on May 17th or May 18th of 2025. Stephanie had taken me to court. She'd taken out a protective order, or tried to take out a protective order against me. She did the same thing with Stephen Henson, or was it Titus? They'll tag team you, Titus won't, but she will, or he will, but she won't. But anyway, I believe it was on that date that Stephanie said that her and her husband, she actually told Judge Lloyd that her and her husband own 118 acres? I forget. But the number of acres added up to Titus's land, the old land, the 50 he's on, the 55 he owns with the House of Prayer land, plus the 13.84 acres. It added up almost precisely with the amount she said in court. Well, Stephanie, if you own that land, is that a true statement? Because it's in your mom's name, right? So were you lying to the judge? But you did acknowledge that that's your house because that's on your land, right? So Jonah Yoder, otherwise known as Gregory Hyman Jr., the federally wanted fugitive who is now in federal custody, he told me, he was a federal fugitive when he was hiding at Titus's. I've made videos about this. It's really interesting because you might have seen, like, in a couple of the videos, like in a short and in a long video, you'll see like a paragraph I've got talking about, the timing of Jonah leaving, the timing of Titus and Stephanie's baby being born, and it lines up. It's like 9 months. Of course, I want to be careful how I say this. I'm basing this on Jonah's statement of the day that he left Titus and Stephanie's for the last time. This would have been in the spring of 2025, okay? That date compared to the expected dates for Titus and Stephanie's baby to be born in 2026, they were forecasting when they expected it to come, and there was actually a third date. It was neither the first nor the first nor the third, if you will, or neither the first nor the second. But if you will, I wish I had that in front of me so I could read it, because I'm butchering this. But it was like 9 months. It was like 9 months after Jonah left. that the baby was, according to them, the baby was going to be born about that time. So, it's either unfortunate timing for them or there's something going on there, but I quote Stephanie, through the tears, I appreciate Jonah. This was the day she made this video. It's the sunny sauce video, making sunny sauce with Stephanie or whatever. This is 30 days to the day or so that she married Titus. So she marries Titus February 27th of 2025. 30 days later, March 27th of 2025, maybe it's a day off. She makes this video. She's crying, okay? It's just her in the trailer. She's crying. It's the worst time of her life. She had just lost her children, like, I don't know, 3 or 4 days prior to this. And so she's married Titus. She's lost her kids. It's amazing. I mean, I don't see anybody lose their kids, but like, you reap what you sow there, lady, and then some. My goodness, like they're still sowing seeds. Like, I don't know what's going to sprout down there. It ain't going to be pretty. It ain't been pretty so far. Oh, by the way, I got to say, tangent of a tangent of a tangent of a tangent. You're next, Titus. Like, you think that Stephanie's just going to leave Jeff? Milk him for what she can milk him for, sue him the way she can sue him, false allegation him the way she did. You think that that's going to stop? The buck's going to stop with Jeff? Like, as Connie Bright so famously said in court, when they're exes, they're out. Like, good luck seeing your kid whenever Stephanie throws you under the bus. Like, that's what I believe is going to happen to you. And I told Titus in October of 2024 when we were on the phone, I said, if you marry her, she's going to divorce you and take half your land. She'll take the house of prayer, and I'm going to laugh at you. And I don't want to laugh at anyone's like misfortune, but like, it'd be hard not to. It's sick. The whole thing is sick. But I don't know. I'll try not to laugh if it happens. But ultimately, it is sad. Okay, where was I? So many tangents here. Talking about Jonah. Yeah, Jonah's I want to be very careful. Like, I sat on this video for many months about. It was a video made on June 15th, 2024. I mean, I was taking clips from June 15th, 2024. And I was taking information from an interview from like December of 2024 about, this plumber from Ohio. He shows up on June 15th, the day that Archie had a GoPro on his back, right? He shows up to Titus's, and I don't think he was expected because me and Titus and the Browns were riding horses down the road. Archie's got a camera on him. Archie, in my mind, was going to just be walking with us and getting footage, which he did, until he went to Titus's cabin. And then, you end up seeing Jonah there, okay? And you end up seeing this plumber arriving from Ohio, who was, I think, unexpected to Stephanie. Well, when the plumber arrives, he sees Stephanie running off into the woods. So she had been there alone with this wanted fugitive. Now, I was interviewing Jonah, this wanted fugitive, in July of 2025. And so prior to that, not knowing that Jonah was a wanted fugitive, I just thought he was a great source of information because he'd had a falling out with Titus, like so many people do. If not 95% of the people in my experience, it seems, has a falling out with him. And Jonah was wanting to kind of, expose Titus, which was great. And he was giving me information. Now, Jonah, I think, lied to me. There was a lot of truth, I think, but at first he said, "No, I was not there." I think this is what he said. "No, I was not there whenever she ran away." Okay, or something to that effect. And yet I got him to admit he was there when she ran away. Okay, because anyways, watch the video. I think the video is called "Was Stephanie Involved with a Federally Wanted Fugitive?" And I don't think there's any question. I think she was. She was involved with him, I have no question, on June 15th, 2024. She was involved with Jonah on when she made the Sunny Sauce video talking about how great Jonah was, and it's the worst time of her life. And she's married Titus, lost her kids, and what she's talking about Jonah and how Jonah was like her big brother or whatever. And she described Titus the same way whenever she was married to Jeff. You can't make this stuff up. It just keeps perpetuating. And, I don't know what Big Brother's mean to Stephanie, given her, upbringing and all that. I won't go into that, but, you can take that with a grain of salt. But don't know what all that means. Don't want to know what all that means. But yeah, the whole thing is ugly. And, if this was a true church down there, which Titus has vehemently stated that, it's not a church. He has said the house of prayer is not a church, even though he took the $251,000 to build a church. That's what the name of the GoFundMe was. He said it both ways. It's a lie. Both cannot be true. And he said it both ways on camera in numerous contexts. There's no question. There's a reason why I tagged the FBI in these videos. There's a reason why I tagged the Kentucky State Police and other people in these videos. The truth's all going to come out. And John Frost up there in Ohio, if this in some way offends you, then I'm exposing the truth. If you think it's counter to scripture, you're welcome to have that opinion. But I feel led in my conscience to do this, and where does our conscience come from? This isn't me making money. I want to address that. I used to make money on YouTube until Titus and Stephanie got my channels taken away about a year ago, my original channel, okay? And I cannot monetize now. So it is what it is. What I'm doing for free. I don't get paid to do any of this. And it's been a big loss. But it's been an awesome ride. It's been an awesome experience. And I do think that at some point in the future, I do expect to get my old channel back. I do expect to be monetized again. I do, free will is interesting, and the way the world works is interesting. We're not promised a bed of roses as Christians. We're not promised an easy life. In fact, we're promised the opposite. We're really promised, according to Scripture, to be hated, in our household by our family members, and I'm not saying I'm that guy. I'm just saying, we're not promised an easy path. And, to me, this situation feels like punishment sometimes, quite often it does. It is what it is. I don't know if God's using me. I don't know. I don't want to say that. People have told me that. People have said that I'm working for the devil. So there's that too. I don't think they have all the information. But I'm not perfect. I mean, if you know me, my history, I'm not a perfect guy, but nobody is. But I don't think that I've ever presented myself as anything but that. And I'm exposing a guy who, has fraudulently, I don't think there's any question, fraudulently stolen from God, okay, to build a house for him and some other man's wife, okay? Let me get back to Christmas week of 2023. It's so strange. I saw something happen on December 27th, 2023 that was probably the most wicked thing I've ever seen with my own eyes. And I can't really explain this. Can't explain this very well, other than I forgot about it until I was talking to Jeff. I don't know if I forgot about it from the day that it happened or what, but I just know that maybe it was compartmentalized in Kentucky. What I saw happened on December 27th, 2023 at the end of the day, okay, right about the time the sun was going down. I believe that was a Sunday. And I left for Alabama to go back home and work the next morning. And so, I don't know, at Titus's, everything is a blur, okay? You're doing all these exciting things. You're riding horses, you're baling hay or whatever's going on. You're making YouTube videos. And and if you're eating the food there, you're nutritionally starved. You're not able to make the judgments that, at least I believe, in my experience, you're not quite playing with the same nutritional full deck, okay, as before. Now, I think you can get away with that for a season or for a period of time, but going full plant-based, I think, starves you of the nutrients you really need to make fully conscious, rational decisions and so on. And again, I think I said this out here last year. if you get control of a man's cheese, you get control of the whole man. You know, if you want to, that's what Titus is doing. Titus is getting control. If people will let him, he's getting control of their ability to eat cheese, meat. You can't have coffee or anything that he calls, junk food and so on. Again, I'm on a tangent. There's just so much. Like, you may not know this, but at Titus's, you can have salt, but you can't have black pepper. Okay, that would be unhealthy. You can't have anything that has vinegar in it because it's fermented. So no hot sauce that's got, like no Tabasco. That's not healthy, according to Titus. This guy who runs around barefoot, okay, in a garden where human excrement is used to fertilize his food, okay, his potatoes and his tomatoes, okay. He's walking around this garden where there's been raw human excrement, fresh from the outhouse, dumped in the garden, okay. He's walking around barefoot, and there are no hand washing facilities at Titus's. There are none, okay. When I was there, I left there June, I guess it was June of 2024, I left, and I could still see like this little container of Dawn, in Titus's kitchen where there is no running water, but we would use there was like a bucket where you would use, like, if you wanted to wash your hands, you could use this bucket you'd have to have somebody pour it over your hands. It was a joke because you had to actually have somebody hold the bucket while you washed your hands. And so people just stopped washing their hands because you had to find somebody to help you wash your hands. But anyways, there was this container of Dawn. And when I left, I noticed it was like, it was empty. Okay. I come back like 2 weeks later or a week later or whatever it was. The same Dawn container is there. It's still empty. Okay. I'd been gone for, I don't know if it was 1 week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks. I'd been gone for a period of time, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, they've not replenished the Dawn. Like, it kind of dawned on me that, like, this place is filthy. I knew it was filthy, but it's just gross. Ask Michael and Samantha Brown. I don't know if they're willing to go on camera. Something happened. I've not talked about this. According to Jonah Yoder, a.k.a. Gregory Hyman Jr. of Princeton, Maine, the man who faked his own death on the St. Croix River to elude the U.S. Marshals or the Office of Inspector General of the Veterans Administration, as well as the Office of Inspector General of the Social Security Administration in New Hampshire, from what I understand. Jonah, gosh, I'm getting off on tangent. I was talking about soap. Now I'm talking about Jonah. Wow. See, I've got it all together, and then I don't. Yeah, that's why scripting is so good. Yeah. It's talking about, it will come back. But let me go back into, you can have salt but no pepper, okay? You can't have anything fermented, so no hot sauce. Let's see, I was talking about fermentation, or I was talking about Titus fertilizing with human excrement in the garden and just how filthy that is. There's no place to wash your hands. I was talking about the Browns. Jonah mentioned that the Browns, there was a falling out between them and Titus. No, it's not right. Strike that from the record. That's not what he told me. I wondered if that's what had happened, because he told me something, and I'm not saying it's not possible what he told me. I just kind of thought, is that the truth? But yeah, so strike that from the record. I've got to get my hypotheses and my memory, congruent. And I was wrong on that one. So that's the part of the scripting, why scripting is so important. But I'm just glad I didn't go into it specifically. But yeah, I wonder if they had a falling out with Titus. I just know that they're not there anymore. So what is that? It seems obvious that they would have. So many people do. If I were to make a list of people who've not had a falling out with Titus, you've got Bill Rust apparently has. I mean, according to Bill, in 2024, but Bill is apparently still there. So, you've got Bill, Stephanie, Titus's mom, and you've got what's his face, what's his name from Paraguay. So right now that's the current iteration of the Henson Creek, cult of fraud, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Ruben, I saw Ruben's testimony. He made a testimony video there at Titus's, And it was so modeled, I think, after Titus, and like it so closely followed Titus's like life. Like he brought in horses in his testimony. He was talking about how when he saw Titus in this video from like 2015 or 2016 or so, it's the video where Titus is crawling under this horse. And at one point, Titus lays on the ground and he takes the horse foot and he lays it on his chest. He talks about how, how do I know I can trust my horse because I know it, or I know my horse. And it's kind of interesting because, biblically, when a man knows a woman, that's like another form of, another way to describe marriage. Yeah. So I think Titus has been, obviously he was banging horses then. So, about that time. So according to Titus's testimony, age 13 until he couldn't remember. But he also said it was years in his past, but I don't think we can believe Titus. He's very manipulative. Okay, so Reuben talks about, he references like it's a positive thing that Titus, like has horses in his testimony. But I think these people they get their shame and their pride confused. Titus and Stephanie get their shame and their pride upside down. A person who writes a book about bragging about going to jail and falling in love with her jailers, Stephanie's mother. I think you're getting your shame and your pride confused. I think this is a church of wolves. Okay, Titus is a false prophet. I believe that Titus is. I don't think there's any question. Like I said, Titus, if you want to take me to court, if you want to sue me for defamation, these are facts that you have. So often you have admitted to these things. So if you want to go and be deposed in court, game on, let's do it. Getting off on a tangent here. What was I talking about? Reuben. Oh yeah, their shame and their pride is confused. Titus, you should be so ashamed of, banging horses and all this, that we should see it in your eyes. We should see the pain in your eyes, okay? You should not be around horses, okay? When you go and you make a video called, what was it called? What does the Bible say about nakedness? Where you admit in a video, trying to control and spin the narrative, you admit to the circumcision and the skinny dipping, okay? And you go and okay, what do you do at the beginning of the video? Titus rides a horse into the video, okay? Titus asked me in 2024 to film, it was July of 2024, he asked me to film his, horse confession video. And I was like, I don't want to do that. Actually, Stephanie asked me. They both asked me, okay? And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want that on my channel. And I ended up, getting sucked into it, and I did it. But Titus actually asked me to film him riding a horse up the hill where he'd go and confess to banging horses for all these years, okay? And this was like, let's see, this is in between court. This is after June 28th and before August 14th, 2024. And so I don't think there's any question if you go and you analyze it for the people who've been here the longest, like me and other people. And I'm speaking to the people who are newcomers to Titus's, okay? They need a constant crop of new people for money. This is all about money. I don't think there's any question. They're desperate. They're so desperate right now. But they need more people, and they need money coming in through views and through the mill tithes and whatnot, okay? So they've got their shame and their pride confused upside down. I believe this is not a church of Christ. It's not even a church at all. It's a fraud. Always has been, even before the beginning, if you will, based on the things that have come out. And there's stuff I always say there's stuff I know more than what I can say. So I bring receipts, okay? So often I bring receipts. If I go into something in great depth, I make a video about it. You see the receipts, okay? I prove it. So there are a number of people who, leave Titus alone. Please leave Titus alone. There's that thing. There's a number. And look, I was one of those people, okay? I was one of the people who defended Titus early. When I found out about so many of these things, I had driven 5.5 hours. I get there. I find this out. And I was like, run. I literally was like, part of me was screaming, run, go home, okay? And this was probably, I don't know, late winter, early spring of 2024. And I stayed for one of the reasons was to figure out and get to the bottom of it. That's a whole other conversation. And I'm glad I did. But yeah, okay. I'm gonna look at some of these comments, some of these questions, if nothing else, because I got off on a tangent and I even forgot. So, hello there, Truth Pilgrim. Okay, let's see. Finally, talk about how Steve hooked up with Peter. This is crazy. All right. So, Steve Haste used to talk to me like every day to every other day. And if I didn't talk to him like, 3 or 4 times in a week, I'd start to wonder if something was wrong. He started calling me, and I like Steve. True fact. I like Steve. He's a very interesting person. But Steve would call me when he was driving on the road at night, like late at night, like going to pick up horses or delivering horses to somebody. And I'm single, I'm unmarried, and I was doing kind of like journalistic. He would tell me stories, and I would write it down, and so we were just talking on the phone a lot. And then I guess around October or so, 2025, like it just stopped. It's just like nothing. So it is what it is. I wish Steve the best. But Steve, he's in the middle of this, and I don't know exactly what that means. But I'm about to reveal something here. This is wild. So Jonah Yoder, aka Gregory Hyman Jr., this wanted fugitive who, according to the Veterans Administration, stole or defrauded $244,000 from the United States government by claiming that he was wheelchair bound. Okay, so in April 21st of 2024, April 21st of 2024, I believe is the date that he faked his own death on the Savoy River on the Canadian border up in Princeton, Maine. Okay. So he fakes his death because the federal agents had gone to his house, asked him some questions, and they figure out, well, this guy's not very paralyzed. He's not very back injured because we've got video of him fighting with people. We've got video of him, in a bar fight. We've got video of him going to town meetings. We've got video of him working in his front yard and so on. And so, yeah. So Jonah anyways, Jonah fakes his death, and where does he go? Where does Jonah go? Fakes his death in April of 2024. Where does he go? He goes to Titus Morris's. I met Jonah, and this is a revelation. This is interesting, people. And Titus, if you're listening, enjoy. Yeah, and I'm sure that Titus doesn't sleep well at night, and this is one of the reasons. So Jonah goes to Titus's, and I guess the question is, how did Jonah Yoder, otherwise known as Gregory Hyman Jr., how did he find Titus? How did this wanted fugitive find Titus? So Gregory Hyman Jr., when I meet him at Titus's in, I guess it would have been like early May of 2024, I think Titus told me in advance on the phone. He gave me a little bit of information about Jonah having like a vague, like Amish or Mennonite background. Okay, and someone told me, maybe it was Bill, maybe it was Jonah. I don't recall at this point, that he had amnesia. Okay, and I later definitely talked to Jonah about all these things. So Jonah tells me that he's got amnesia. He had like a head injury. He got into a fight. He got hit in the head. He doesn't remember his name necessarily. He goes by Jonah Yoder because he used to live with Eli Yoder on Eli Yoder's farm in Virginia. Okay, get ready for this. This is the big thing that I'm getting ready to disclose. So like I always say, I know way more, but I'm getting ready to tell something big. So get ready for this. Jonah Yoder tells me that Eli Yoder, okay, in Virginia, sent him to Titus's. And Eli Yoder was Titus's next door neighbor. Eli Yoder appears in the video Inside the Life of Titus. If you recall, I believe it's the second video where Peter Santinello goes to Titus's, and they're in front of what is now the House of Prayer site, and Titus is reading mail from a lady in Poland. This white truck pulls up. Eli Yoder, this Schwarzenegger Amish man, is being driven by his driver, and they have a conversation about a light, blah, 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 blah. Well, Steve Haste used to work with Eli Yoder. Eli Yoder, I think, worked for Steve Haste. Titus Morris used to work for Steve Haste. And Eli Yoder used to live in Maine, 42 miles by my, from city to city, town to town, from Princeton, Maine, where Gregory Hyman Jr., otherwise known as the wanted fugitive, the federally wanted fugitive, Jonah Yoder, he lived approximately 42 miles from where Eli Yoder lived on the Maine-Canada border. And so when I met Jonah in the spring of 2024, he told me that Eli Yoder sent him to Titus's. And Titus vehemently denied that it was the same Eli Yoder. Guess what, people? I have no question. It was Eli Yoder. Here's another border, Titus, Steve Haste, Eli Yoder connection, if you will. The very first time that Titus Morris called me, this would have been in approximately, this was August. I believe this was like around August 20th or so of 2023. Okay, yeah, August. This is right before the GoFundMe. Titus calls me. He calls me from Steve Hayes' cell phone. Guess where Titus is? He's in Maine. Yep. And I don't think this is a coincidence. Eli Yoder now lives in Minnesota, 20 miles from the border of Canada. So I just want to sum up that Titus Morris's old neighbor, Eli Yoder, has lived at the Canadian border, near the Canadian border, like right by the Canadian border, I believe near New Brunswick. I think that's where it's close to. And I cannot think of the city where Eli lived off the top of my head. I know it, but it's over there written down. But Eli lived about 42 miles city to city from Princeton, reportedly close to where Gregory Hyman Jr. was living. And I don't think that Eli lived there at the same time, but I don't know precisely when he lived there. I just believe that Eli Yoder is now, at this time, in Polk County, Minnesota, about 20 miles from the Canadian border. And I'm seeing patterns here. I believe this is an international crime ring. Write it down. I believe that Titus Morris is involved in an international crime ring involving at least Eli Yoder, at least was involving Gregory Hyman Jr. And if the federal authorities are listening to this, I'll tag them. I'll tag the FBI in this and whatnot. That's what I think is happening here. There's a lot that I'm not going to go into relating to details, but I see lots of narcotics around Titus, no question. Ongoing business arrangements with someone that Titus has described as a methamphetamine dealer, okay? One of his neighbors. There's that. There's the fact that the House of Prayer used to be owned by this methamphetamine dealer, according to Titus, okay? And there's other things. There are rumors, there are stories, but again, people are terrified. Like, people will tell me things, but they won't go on camera. I can't even get people to come here and hang out with me, let alone, walk down Henson Creek Road with me. They won't even come to the county, Well, what do you think the people in the valley are going to do? He declared Solomon Hershberger's death to be a judgment from God. So people are afraid, and in this county, someone told me that, the officials here are not accustomed to the way I talk to them. Whenever I made the videos calling out, what I call Weddell County and the corrupt people here that I believe are corrupt or involved in corruption, I was told they're not accustomed to having people talk to them that way. Well, guess what? Good. I have a First Amendment journalistic right, Chad Weddell, to talk about you. And, I'm going to talk about you whenever I want to talk about you. And you can try to put me in jail. I think that time has passed. I think you have, I think that you guys, you missed your mark. And, Titus, Weddell County, y'all can, if you want to try to kill me, you can, but I think it's too late. I think you've missed your boat. I think you misjudged, who you were, for lack of a better term, who your opponent was. And I'm really glad for that, because I think I'm just so different that maybe I'm the right person for this job to expose all this. And, if I'm only 90% correct, so be it. I'll take the consequences. But I'm going to be on the right side of history in all this. And so far I have been. And one of the reasons I'm not stopping, it's not about being, what's the word they like to use, obsessed. I do like to say I'm obsessed with the truth. But a few of the people that's known me and like they're friends with me or they're close subscribers, we might talk or whatever, and I'll tell them like, one of the reasons I'm still going in this is that I know like deep in my bones, like, in my heart that, I'm 50, I'll be 51 years old in April. Okay. And how much time do I have left? Do I have 30, 40 years left? I mean, hey, I might have 50 years left. Fine, so be it. But no one gets off the planet alive. Okay, I think that's a demonstrated fact, except for Jesus, right? And I'm thankful for that. But if I were to be on my deathbed when I'm 85 years old, and if I were to have quit and think, man, if I were to thought, man, I was this close to stopping this thing, okay? If I was this close to stopping this thing and I quit, I would just, to me, it would be a cowardly act to quit. That's why I'm still in it. And I do believe there's more than one child that's been abused here. I mean, I know it, I believe there's a child trafficking operation here, okay? I'm not just talking about the stuff that's been documented here in the county, okay? I'm not just talking about Titus's church. I'm talking about other churches. I'm not just talking about Henson Creek. I'm talking about Weddell County. I'm talking about what Stephen Henson has described as the cornbread mafia. I'm talking about what the cornbread mafia has described as the cornbread mafia. I'm talking about what the former president of the Kentucky State Senate, okay, whose 3-county district, or maybe it's more than 3 counties, but it includes the 3 counties in his district that were the cornbread mafia, according to the cornbread mafia, according to their books and their history that they've published through like an intermediary or whatever. His district is founded in like where the cornbread mafia was created, according to the published history. Well, this Republican president of the Senate, he's still a senator, I believe. Okay, at this moment, he's the former president of the Kentucky Senate. Okay, his son wrote one of the books about the cornbread mafia. Okay, and his son owns a business in Louisville, Kentucky called Cornbread Hemp Products. So there was that aha moment where I see this, not so hidden connection between, big business, big politics, unfortunately, the Republican Party in Kentucky. And, you can imagine going back to Prohibition, how all this started. You've got rural Kentucky, poor people, you've got Prohibition, and all of a sudden now it's so easy to go and take grain, which is ample and present, and distill it into liquor illegally and make a lot of money, And people did that in the 20s and in the 1930s, okay? And then when the federal government yanks that rug from out from underneath them, well, then it has to become something else because the model is in place, okay? You've got this place that's very remote. It's far from Washington, D.C. It's far from Louisville, Kentucky. It's far from Cincinnati, Ohio. It's far from, Nashville, Tennessee, okay? You've got this place, rural Kentucky, where all of this, you've got all this poverty in Appalachia, okay, in the 20s and 30s. The government pulls out the rug and they end Prohibition. You've got all these people who had been making money illegally, okay, through illicit means. What do? Well, I'm sure that some of them started doing legitimate work, but I would say a large percentage of them got into other things. They diversified into marijuana and perhaps other illicit drugs, okay? And through the generations, now you've got meth everywhere in Casey County. I think it's obvious. I don't think this is a wild, theory. And this is backed up. Look up the bluegrass conspiracy. Look up how I believe is in the 1980s, the late 80s, a Lexington drug detective, a Lexington narcotics detective. He might have just been a detective. I believe his name was, I don't want to say his name because I might get it wrong. But this guy was flying airplanes from South America, and he ended up jumping out of this airplane, like full of cocaine, or had a lot of cocaine. He jumps out with his parachute over, I think it was in Knoxville, near Knoxville, Tennessee. And I guess his altimeter reading was like way off because he had a parachute, he had a whole bunch of cocaine, a whole bunch of money. He ended up hitting some man's driveway. This guy goes out in the morning to get his mail, and there's all this cocaine, all this money splattered on the driveway. And this guy's a police officer. That's from the bluegrass conspiracy, and it's probably one of the cousins of the Cornbread Mafia, if not directly the Cornbread Mafia. One of the aspects of all this, especially when dealing with Titus, don't listen to his narrative. Take his narrative, dissect it, okay? And then assign a likelihood in your mind of how truthful is this. That's one of the problems with Titus. When he testified in court about the horse banging, he was actually keeping Eli Yoder from testifying. Eli was subpoenaed to testify against Titus about what he knew about the horse banging. Okay? And so Titus was actually controlling the narrative and spinning off his own narrative when he testified. And hence, that's how we end up with Titus, getting people like I used to incorrectly repeat. I used to say, circumcise himself. He didn't circumcise himself. It wasn't an assisted circumcision. Somebody else did it. It's highly illegal. And Thomas Weddle and Casey County Attorney Thomas Weddle, why have you not prosecuted him? I don't want to hear the excuses. Okay, why you didn't. Do it. Do it. And Commonwealth's Attorney Brian Wright, if you're appointed by the governor, it is what it is. But I don't see why you can't prosecute Titus Morris. Is the governor protecting Titus Morris? Kentucky State Police Detective Zach Scott, when I was bringing up, I guess it was last year, it was late 2024, early 2025, I was talking to Kentucky State Police Detective Zach Scott. I was talking to him, and I was bringing up the fact that, Solomon Hirschberger's death was very suspicious. Titus declared a judgment from God. There's allegations of maybe Solomon's death was involved or a product of him knowing things about child abuse in the Amish community, possibly involving Titus Morris, okay? I always tell you that I know more than what I know. Sorry, it just gets me sometimes. I didn't know Solomon very well at all. I just met him three times, but something about it really bothers me. And, a lot of people say, let God handle it, and there's going to be justice in the end. Not on my watch. In the body of Christ, you've got fingers, you've got a nose, you've got a chin, you've got eyes, you've got ears. Somewhere on this body, I don't know if I'm a little toe or if I'm a knee or if I'm something else. Gail Sharps said what I am. I'm not going to say it. But, maybe I'm a pancreas. That's not it. But there's a purpose in this. And, the biggest YouTuber in Casey County, good night, what's his name? Dry Creek Wrangler School, the biggest YouTuber in Casey County. A friend of Steve Haste. He works with Steve Haste on occasion. I don't know why I can't think of his name. He has a Tack Room Bible Talk YouTube channel as well. He's got over 1 million subscribers on, I don't know why I can't think of his name. He's got over 1 million subscribers on the channel Dry Creek Wrangler School. It seems like I see him every time I come to Casey County. I've seen him on this trip on the road, or I'll see him at the vet or whatever it is, or I'll just see him in town or whatever. But he made a video not long ago, about a month ago, and about Epstein, and he's like, "Well, leave it to God." This went on in biblical times. They had Baal worship and people were sacrificing their babies to, to the gods. You know what? Like, if what I'm doing by exposing all of this, if I'm wrong, okay, I'll let God on Judgment Day sort it out with me, okay? But if you're wrong, Dwayne, Noel, by telling people to not get involved, not worry about exposing the Epstein stuff that's going on, okay? Maybe I'm taking this out of context. I thought Dwayne Noel was saying it's not for us as Christians to really worry about unless it's in our church, okay? I disagree. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If my son was abused by these people, or if some kid is out there, which they are, oh, good night. Have I had bad sound this entire time? Was the sound not there? Tell me did the sound just come back? Hey, Gail, just somebody tell me if the sound changed, because I'm curious, because it said to confirm. I don't know if I'm taking Dwayne Noel out of context, but good night. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So if there's you hear me fine, perfect. There's some kid out there, okay? And maybe that kid is a pile of bones, as in like he's already been murdered or whatever, okay? But there's some kid somewhere that's being abused as part of this whole Epstein thing, like a spin-off of it, okay? And he's praying that, God, please send somebody to help me, And maybe he's praying that Dwayne Noel will come and save him. Now, Dwayne's a former lawman. I don't understand that. But if I'm wrong for what I'm doing, I'll let God sort that out with me on Judgment Day. But I'm not going to stop this. Damn it, I'm not. And what I'm saying, I know I've gotten something wrong here. But buddy, 90%, gotta be. I bring receipts. And I've told you what I think are theories. I've told you what I think are coincidences. But you connect the dots. I used to promote Titus Morris on YouTube. It's my duty to expose this. I'm going to try to read some of the comments here and not get distracted, and then I might be ending this. I don't know. I'm not trying to get emotional on you all. It's hard not to. But now maybe you can see the burden I'm carrying. Like, you don't even know. Like, this is heavy. And, okay, so here's the other thing. No one gets off the planet alive. I know that, okay? And so when I walk down Henson Creek Road unarmed, okay, with a guy who has chased me with a chainsaw right in front of me, I know, in a sense, I'm already dead, okay? Because, how can I put this? I mean, what have I got, 40 more years anyway? I could have a heart attack today, it's just, life is fragile. So we should all be living in this way where we've already realized that we're going to die at some point. So just be ready. So I don't know, take my confidence in this that I'm ready. You know what I mean? I'm just not that worried about it. And I have my moments where I do get overwhelmed, or I'm worried, or I'm fearful. And I'm not trying to say that I'm like Mr. Brave or whatever, but there is something to that. So for you all that think that I'm a bully, obviously you're being confused by Titus. I used to be confused by Titus. So just hang in there. Let me read some of these comments. New subscriber. You're my new favorite non-binary streamer. I'm not sure what that means. But thank you, Gerson Pina. Thank you, Ben. I appreciate that. Hey, Jennifer Hodge. I appreciate Jennifer Hodge's continual, comments and support. There's a lot of people that I really appreciate, and I wish I had more time to engage with you all. Like, you don't know how busy I've been the past 30 days. I work. YouTube is not my full-time job. I don't get paid for it. So this is like a labor of love. and I do it when I can. And I'm not very good at live streaming, but maybe I am. I don't know. I know Gail will tell me it was so good. I love Gail. Okay. I wondered what Titus's parents thought of Titus and Stephanie getting married. Well, okay. I'm glad you brought that up. So I mentioned that I think there may be, more than one cult leader here. I think that Titus and Stephanie and Brenda, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I think they're all cult leaders. I think Stephanie steers Titus, and I think Brenda steers Titus, and I think Brenda steers Stephanie. This is what I believe, okay? I don't know how deeply that steering wheel goes and all of that. I know, who knows? But I just know there's a lot of influence there. And Brenda's been involved in the destruction of Jeff's family for a very long time. There's been a lot of grooming of different people to be, a potential mate of Titus over the years. I'm not going to go into that. Good Lord. Not right now, maybe someday. But like Stephanie's definitely not the first. There's ones that people know about, and there's ones that they don't, and there's ones that I still learn about. It's crazy. But like, Titus, if you just be normal, if you would have been normal and not like Amish, not Amish as I always called Titus. I used to joke and call him not Amish because he never was, and to me that was always really funny. I don't know why this is not charging, but I would really like to have it charging right now. Oh, I bet it's out of juice. It doesn't matter. Yeah, so I have no question that, Brenda, oh, good Lord, is it off? No, I think I have turned it off. How's the sound doing? Confirm. Uh-oh. Okay. Technical difficulties here. Yeah, back to Brenda. If if you were there from the kind of the beginning of like 2024, actually 2023, when Jeffrey and Stephanie actually separated, Stephanie went to live in Randy and Brenda's home, not a safe place. We know that there have been multiple children abused in that home over the years. That's been documented in court. That came out in Cain versus Cain. Thank you, Nolan Weddle. So not a safe place for kids. And where does Stephanie Cain take her 3 children? To Randy and Brenda Morris's home. Free Angels Drive, not a safe place for kids or for people over the years, as documented. Wow. Like, if a percentage of the stories are true, it'll curl your toes, man. Like there's stuff that so often somebody will tell me something, and the first one was like, oh yeah, like horses and circumcision. Okay, first time you hear it, you're like, that's impossible, and your mind shuts. You're like, it's not true. Well, I've done that so many times. Like like a month ago, someone told me something. I'm like, that's impossible. It's too crazy. Like that's not true. And then it's like you keep asking around, you keep digging, and either you find out, yes, it's definitely true, or it looks like it's true. You know what I mean? Because it lines up and so on. You assign a likelihood of it being true based on the logic and what you have. Again, like when you watch TV, when you watch, the news, don't watch the news and go, oh, they said it, therefore it's true, like your grandparents did. That's what my grandparents did, different generation. I think they were shaped by World War II. All the men went into the military, and they were basically taught not to question authority. And then our parents were brought up in that, and then I think our generation has kind of split off from that, and our kids are splitting off from that. But yeah, when you watch television or YouTube or whatever it is, or Titus Morris, you listen to what they say, analyze it in real time. Okay, this is biblical. We're not supposed to trust men. Okay, but I don't want to say critical, but be critical, but that's not the word. Analyze and assign a likelihood of truth in your mind. So like if he says something, ask yourself, okay, does this stand the truth test? Titus didn't stand the truth test. His horse didn't. I digress. Okay. Let's see here. Titus's parents thought of Tyson and Stephanie getting married. Well, Brenda's still behind it. She still goes down there. And I was wondering this morning in my head, thinking about all this stuff and looking through some of the documentation. I was just like thinking I wonder if Stephanie divorces Titus in like which side will Brenda take? I think I know which side she'll take, but like will the babies will Stephanie still be welcome over at Randy and Brenda's home? You start thinking about all these permutations, and like I've said before, Stephanie's got a secret home on her not land that's in her mom's name. So she said she told Judge Lloyd they've got 118 acres, and they don't, because 13.84 of those acres are in her mother's name. And Stephanie's got a home, a secret pole barn home on that land that I still have no photograph of. And Jonah Yoder, the wanted fugitive, he told me that he wired some of it, for electricity. And by the way, Jonah Yoder, what else was I going to say about Jonah? He did some wiring in the House of Prayer too. Okay. So you're always welcome on your travels at my place for sleeper food. I appreciate that. Now he refers to it as a public organization. Kelly, can you tell me what you're referring to there? Public organization? I'm not sure if I know about that. Public. In which context? That sounds good, Aaron. Thank you so much, Ben. Is that a Steve Haste emblem on your cap? It actually is. Yeah. This was the first hat that Steve Haste sold online, and I bought it. So, yep. Okay. Who is Steve Haste? Yep. I need a bodyguard. Hey, no one's asking about my shirt. Not yet. I'm still, going down. Aaron and Melissa Dykes, they've got a YouTube channel called TruthStream Media. And they were like my favorite YouTube channel for the longest time. And no offense, guys, but might be beyond category now. Becoming a YouTuber does change the way you look at everything, especially the way you look at other YouTubers. And I really appreciate them. Gosh, they made a really funny video one time that really struck a chord with my sense of humor. And I think it was called How to Make the Best YouTube Video Ever, with the word ever spelled like EVURRRRR or something like that. It was just so funny. How to make the best YouTube video ever, and it's TruthStream Media. Yeah, they're really good, and I like them so much that I sent them money. I think they're the only YouTuber I ever sent money to other than Titus. I don't send people money on, as far as YouTube goes in any context, generally speaking. I don't have that much money, but just saying, I like them that much. And I sent them some books, and they never responded. But they're popular, and they have a lot of subs, and they're busy, and they create constantly, so I'm not complaining. It's difficult. I'm sure it's difficult. But the book never bounced back to me, and the money never. I think they cashed the money, so I know they got it, but you know what I mean. But I like them. Okay, they made a really good video. I'm getting off topic, but they made a really good video about secret societies. Their secret societies video is incredible. And it actually ends, I think the final one ends on the machine at Alabama, University of Alabama. Like dude, that video is incredible. I need a bodyguard. Yeah, I got the Holy Spirit. Let's see, your live just dropped offline. Oh, okay. Mine didn't drop. Okay, it's good to know. Always wonder what his relationship is with his siblings. Well, okay, we're getting into respect and privacy versus truth. So I'm not going to say everything I know, but one of the siblings, y'all don't know this. I know something you don't know, to quote, what's her name? Lydia, when she was making fun of me. I'm Aaron Entz. I know something you don't know. Well, yeah, I know a lot you don't know, people. But I wasn't there on June 28th, but from what I've been told, on June 28th, you had like the people sitting on Titus's side, which was like where Randy and Brenda were, and then you had people in the courtroom when Titus was testifying against himself. You had people who were sitting on Jeff's side. Titus's younger brother was sitting with Jeff's side. Look at that. Him and his wife both were. And, I know their names and, whatever. I'm not going to say their names, but yeah. I've asked Titus some questions about, like, Like when I was there, I was like, why don't why doesn't your brother ever come here? And I've never met his brother, but I was like, what, but I know people who have. And like, I think when Joel was there, I think he met him, but it doesn't matter. But Titus would always have an excuse, like he projected onto somebody else. Like that home was not safe for kids. I'll just say that. I'll just let that be. It's sad, man. Okay. A_Revec. Like, I wonder what that means. What is Arvec? Okay. I wish you could sue them over your old channel. I mean, I probably could. I may not have to, but we'll see. Focus on something else. Bum behavior. Yeah. I like to always say you have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, maybe you do know what you're talking about and you're just wrong. I mean, but that means you don't know what you're talking about. But you don't know what you're talking about. All right. Hello, Mrs. Robinson. She's in Kentucky also. Why isn't he in jail? Well, I'd like to think he's not in jail because of money and corruption. Okay. There's a lot. Like, it's been demonstrated through the media, through, if nothing else, a YouTube channel called The Civil Rights Attorney. It's been demonstrated there's a major culture of, even in the mainstream media, there's a major culture of sex trade in between attorneys, prosecutors, judges, court officials, policemen, bailiffs, etc. It's all coming out, and it's so funny. It's like it comes out over here in London, Kentucky. Not London. I can't think. Where Mickey Steins is. Judge Mickey Steins got. Wait a minute. Was it Judge Mickey Steins or was Mickey Steins the sheriff that shot the judge? It doesn't matter. But east of here in eastern Kentucky, there was a judge shot by a sheriff, and all this sex stuff's coming out. And it's so funny how it's always over there, but it's never in Weddell County. And then you've got Randall Weddell, the mayor of London, Kentucky, and he's calling YouTubers pedos for exposing the truth. And I'm like, this is interesting. Okay, that saw would be a hemorrhoid remover. I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure how to take that. Okay. Oh, please stop. Okay, here we go. The horse proves who he is. Well, I would agree with that. Gel Sharp says, based in your information, I agree with you that the whole GoFundMe and church, etc., was plotted well before Peter Santinella interviewed Titus for his Peter Santinella channel. Yeah, I appreciate you seeing that. I think so. Again, it's a likelihood, Doesn't hurt to carry. Well, yeah, Gail. There she is. Yeah. Yeah, so Be Stricted says, wait, he had a child circumcise him. I had never heard about that. Yeah, so if you're a latecomer, you wouldn't know that. They don't go and talk about their weaknesses and their vulnerabilities on their channel, and some of these documented crimes. But it came out. So the long and the short of it, to boil it down, Stephanie, separated from Jeffrey, her first husband. And she allegedly at the time, her and Titus were just brothers and sisters in Christ, but I don't think there's any other way to see it. They had been planning this out for a very long time. They cooked up false allegations of abuse against Jeffrey. And so in response, multiple people came as witnesses against Titus, and all this information, all this dirty stuff came out about the horse banging him and then the circumcision, and it was all documented in court. And then I put the court videos up, at least some of them, because some of the stuff I couldn't be up. I couldn't be put up because of victims and whatnot. And yep. So there's a lot of stuff Be Stricted that's not come out because it's just too dirty. They like to hide behind. Let's see. How do you put this? There's a cloak of secrecy and protection for the abuser, no question, when things are sealed. Okay, and I'm not saying this stuff is sealed, but some of it has been. But we can talk about it because we know about it already from Titus and from Stephen Henson and whatnot. They have too much influence over Reuben, corrupting his mind daily to believe that you're a threat to his mom, Steffi, and the baby. Yeah, so, Reuben films, they made this video, what is inside this box or something like that on Titus Morris Extras. What a gift. And, there's this box with my name on it, and they open it, and it's full of food, allegedly. And look, I don't trust them. They're manipulative. I don't necessarily believe there wasn't, anything nefarious in there. It doesn't matter. But in that video, Ruben was filming me just simply driving the golf cart down Henson Creek Road. Okay. And he was talking about how his heart was like at 150 beats a minute. And he was, I guess, trying to tell the story that he was afraid because I was driving the golf cart down the road. How is it that he's afraid of me driving a golf cart down the road? Okay. Whenever I don't come off of the road, I just drive the golf cart down the road. Okay. How is it that he's afraid of me, but he's not afraid of this guy that's admitted to abusing children? He's admitted to, banging horses. Okay. He's stolen somebody else's wife. He broke no contact orders that keep him away from what are now his stepchildren. Okay. He chased me with a chainsaw for exposing the truth. Reuben, I don't buy it. Okay. At this point, Reuben, you're probably just as bad as Titus. You're not that stupid. I don't buy it. Okay. I just don't. I don't. I know you're young, and you got to pass until now. But in my mind, you're just as bad as Titus. You've had long enough to see it. So, shame on you. And, I believe, Ruben Dickinson, from Paraguay, this man who traveled here to be with Titus about the time the baby was born. I think it's very suspicious. I believe, this is my opinion, I believe, Ruben, you are now exposing yourself to criminal activity. So that's on you. You have been warned time and time again by this channel, indirectly, and now directly. So good luck with that. Yeah. If it rots, they won't care. They'll just say it was a lesson from God. I mean, they won't say it's a lesson from God. They'll spin it to their advantage somehow because someone will be dumb enough. The problem with Peter Santinello is that Peter still gives them a crop, every week of new people who will send them some money and give them views. So, hello there, Carolyn. Good morning to you. You're the right man for the job. I appreciate that. Oh, thank you all. Oh, I appreciate y'all. Yep, still going down. Oh, Janet retracted a message. I'm curious to see what that would have been. Okay. Hey, Glenview. What's he talk about when he talks about the upper room? Well, I don't know exactly what you're referring to. So if he's talked about in a recent video, I didn't see it. But when I was at Titus's, this is very interesting. When I was at Titus's in 2023 and 2024, there's multiple contexts here, so stay with me. I believe that Titus is duplicitous, and he will confuse and spin and be duplicitous. So you give something multiple meanings, and you can kind of launder and confuse situations and confuse people, okay? So stick with me. So the upper room, in between the barn and Titus's house, there is a really large shed. When I was there, we called it the corn crib. And I didn't camp in the corn crib, but that's where I would set up my breakfast. I actually set up my breakfast on the hay harvester, what do you call that? Hay harvester. Hay baler. There's a hay baler there, an old hay baler. And I'd set up my camp stove there. It was great, man. It was awesome. There was a roof over you. It might be raining, and I'd just be cooking breakfast out there or dinner. We had so much fun out there. But at one point I was sleeping in the barn. Me and my son were sleeping in the loft. It was so much fun. I have actually, through all of this, I have wonderful memories there. This is so strange, but that place still seems like home to me. And yet it seems like so far from home for me, but it's weird. It's a weird, twisting of memories. They're so good and so bad. So yeah. And there was a church of people there. There was a gathering of real Christians there, maybe not Titus and Stephanie perhaps, but Christians came, and we were tricked and deceived. So, we had that fellowship there. There's also that. It's a very interesting overlap of Venn diagram circles, right? There's so much going on, good, bad, and so on. I don't recommend it. Okay. Upper room. In between the barn and Titus's house, there is that shed. Okay. And in the upper part of the shed, there's an upstairs, and Titus called that the upper room. And I do think there's pews up there. I do think the pews were placed there in approximately May or so, prior to May, maybe in April of 2024. I do believe that was actually designed to be the Titus's church. Like the only church on the property was going to be that. And so he called it the upper room. He called it the corn crib. And then if you look in the GoFundMe, like not supporting documents, but if you look in the GoFundMe, like accounting that Randy put up, he referred to that as loft meeting room. So it's got three names for spin, for confusion. That's what I believe to be the case. I believe the whole thing is just fraudulent. And I want to say they spent $77,000 on labor. I always wonder if that labor went to Titus, to Stephanie, or Randy and Brenda, or Jonah Yoder. Who knows? Yeah. Real quick on Jonah, he loaned, according to him, Stephanie $2,500 to buy her van. I mean, when you've got $244,000 perhaps on you, I don't know if he had that on him or not, but I would say he had a big chunk of that on him whenever he came from Maine. Who knows? Maybe he bought the whole van for her. I believe these people are grifters. I believe she's shady. Anyway, yeah. Okay, so that's the upper room. Aaron is bringing it today. Thank you, Truth Pilgrim. I appreciate that. Glenview Tops 2 says, yes, it's about the money and they are grifters. Peter seems to not care or in on it. So this is what I think could be happening with Peter. And I'm just trying to be a little fair to Peter here. I think it's possible that if this thing was planned out like months and, years in advance before the GoFundMe, which I think it was, it's quite possible that they had Peter sign a non-disclosure agreement, and he's contractually bound to do exactly what he's doing, keep the videos up, keep promoting Titus indirectly. Even if he doesn't agree with it, he might have got sucked into something he has no idea about. Now, with that said, I also think that Peter probably is not that innocent. There's a short I made about Peter where he's applying his lips to like a 7-year-old girl for a long time. And it's really strange. And her dad's like, this is in a foreign country. And her dad's like, okay, stop, Peter. Really strange. Like it was not appropriate at the very least. It was just really weird. But I don't know. I'm at a point now where I tend to be a little bit more suspicious about people, especially if they're involved with this situation with Titus. So yeah, Peter, not a good look. What can we do, Aaron, to help besides prayers? Don't ask me that. I need money. I need equipment. The truck is always on the verge of, I don't want to go down this road, but I need to. The truck is always like in flux, like it had a major oil leak. And it had a major coolant leak. And I literally got it fixed, I want to say on Wednesday before I came. Tuesday or Wednesday before I came here a month ago. And I was telling a friend of mine actually fixed it for free. I offered him some money. I was like, here's $200. He wouldn't take it. But it's stuff like that. If it wasn't for that, I don't think I would have come. Okay. I mow yards for a living back home, okay? I used to make YouTube money, now I don't. I made very little YouTube money. If y'all knew exactly how little I made, you'd be like, yeah, what a joke. But I think that's the nature of YouTube now. Peter's making $30,000 a month, last I looked, and Mr. Beast is making, I don't know, $400,000 a day, whatever. It's insane. I'm not those guys. Maybe I can make, a teacher's salary at some point. I'd be happy with that. I'd be happy just to get by and do nothing else. But yeah, I need more equipment. Data. I know more now about I've got an iPhone, okay, and I now know a lot more about how all of this works, and I can go and explain it, and then people are like, well, why don't you just get an external hard drive? Well, that doesn't work with Apple. You could move it off the external hard drive, but good luck finding the file. But I digress. But yeah, I might have a GoFundMe if y'all want to support me for equipment, like electronic equipment, like a new phone, maybe a new laptop, vehicle expenses, or whatever. That would be helpful. She asked, I told. And I just want to, come full circle. Um, I started a GoFundMe in approximately like maybe April of 2024. And it was so funny. Titus shot it down. And like he literally texted me and told me that he thought it was a bad idea. Okay. And so I took it down. I got $50. It was up for like a day, maybe 28 hours. I don't even know, 18 hours, whatever it was. The GoFundMe was up for a day. I got one donation of $50. It was actually from Steve Haste. I never took the money. Okay. I just simply never connected my bank account information. The money never came through. And then after like 3 months or whatever, the money went back to Steve. So, I had a GoFundMe and I was sort of like guilted to stop doing it. And I think it was because they didn't want to compete with me. They wanted all the GoFundMe money. They didn't want me to get any of it. Those dirty, rotten cult leaders. I tell you what. Something else. Pre-COVID, I made decent money. Like there was one month, I don't want to say how many $1,000s I made in that one month. It wasn't bad, for me. But post-COVID, it's just like less and less every year. And it's like last year was the worst I'd ever had. It was so bad. And I was hoping to go full-time YouTube. And I feel like, hey, I'm pretty good at this. Okay, so yeah, I'm gonna put up a GoFundMe or something at some point. I might be on GoFundMe's like drama list, if there is such a thing. I might be blacklisted because I caused a stink with Titus's GoFundMe, and they're like, yeah, all of them, no more. Who knows? I don't know, but we'll figure that out. Maybe Titus will donate to my GoFundMe. Do you still have the House of Prayer rules for visitors email they sent? Of course I do. Can you repost from your old channel? Yeah, I thought that was posted, but I'll try to do that. Truth Pilgrim, if I don't get it up, soon, please email me on that, and I'll try to get it up. But yeah, Stephanie emailed me like in June or July, probably July of 2024, and she sent me like the Henson Creek House of Health rules. And I have to be honest. I want to tell y'all something. I have hammered on Titus on so many things, and then I go back and I kind of look through, the lens of history and, retrospect, and I realized that a lot of it was Stephanie. Like I was thinking, okay, so like cotton good, okay? I don't usually wear cotton shirts, especially in the summer. I wear synthetic shirts. Stephanie really did not like me wearing synthetic shirts. Like it really, really bothered her. It's about control, okay? It rules for thee and not for me. And she's the one that published these Henson Creek House of Health rules, for people who are coming on the land. And I'll try to get that out. But like, it's not about being healthy, it's about, because she doesn't even wear, I know she's been seen in Indianapolis on camera because it was on her channel. She was seen without her head cover. Okay. So what is that? And there are other examples. I just can't think of it. Somebody saw her in a Mexican restaurant in Liberty. Oh yeah, true story. And she was eating food, I think, allegedly she was eating food that was not healthy. These people make me sick. By the way, Titus Morris, he ain't healthy. And I'm not just talking about the non-mental health. He ain't looking good, buddy. Get a haircut, take a bath, get some soap. Mathematics, division, the division of mathematics. Mathematics, okay. Or not. That is low. There's so many vets who need money. Yeah, Gregory Hyman Jr., he took $244,000 claiming to be wheelchair bound, and he wasn't. And the funny thing is, like, there was always this like friction between Titus, Gregory Hyman Jr., and Jonah. Like Jonah was pretty lazy, and it's kind of funny because Titus is pretty lazy. Now, on his own land, he'd get things done. Titus would, okay? But I've heard that when he works for other people, it's like it don't work that way. And I gotta say, it's different when you work for yourself. Look, I've done both. But like, Jonah, Gregory Hyman Jr., he's pretty lazy. I remember one day Titus had just gotten a weed trimmer. I gave him my own weed trimmer, and it had the string on it. But he got like a Husqvarna, or he got a steel weed trimmer with a circular blade. And Jonah went and like took the weed trimmer and weed trimmed around all of the fence posts along Henson Creek Road in front of their land. Right? Probably took him 20 minutes, to do both sides. At the most 20 minutes. And I remember I was on the porch and we were watching, and when Titus, I don't think Titus had ever heard a weed trimmer with a blade going, but every time it would hit like something like a tree, it would like bing, bing, and it would be it would create a very metallic sound. And at the time, Titus thought that it was just he was hitting a lot of like barbed wire, but that's what it sounds like whenever you hit a tree, and it'll cut a tree. The size of your thumb easily. You might have to hold it there for a minute. Getting off topic. After like 20 minutes of this, Jonah comes back and he's just all like, look what I did, And I'm not trying to be ugly. I'm just telling you what happened. But that was the end, and he was done for the day. I mean, it was just so funny to me. Yeah. You won't be single for long. You are so beautiful and intelligent. The Lord will send you a wonderful wife. Amen. Oh, I like that. I want a wife. Oh gosh, here we go. I just said that. I don't want a wife. I mean, I do, but I don't want to say it on YouTube. They're all crazy. They're not all crazy. Glenview and MC, great to see. I just lost half my subs. Oh look, I went from 47 watching to no, like half the people are gone. Oh, they're actually one person. Not all women are crazy, but in this, well, I mean, come on, half the men out there are crazy. Like, come on. In this post, what is it? Okay, I've said this before. If our great-great-grandparents were here, if they would like just all of a sudden show up, okay? Not grandparents, not great-grandparents, but like great-great-grandparents, okay? The ones who lived in like the 1880s, 1890s, if they were to go into Walmart today, they'd lose their freaking minds. Like they would just be so shocked at the behavior of young people and the way the way fathers let their daughters dress and act and so on. The things they see would just totally shock them. Yeah, we're post World War I, we're post World War II. Somewhere after all that, subsequent to all that, like the Western civilization just, it's like one big belch or something. It's ugly. And so I don't have all the answers, but it ain't going well. And the traditional, all I can tell you is that my grandparents, I knew all four of my grandparents, they all were not divorced. They weren't perfect, but they seemed to be like the grandmother, the wife was subservient to, the grandfather in the way that seemed to be appropriate. I'm not talking about cracking the whip, like my grandfather cracking the whip or my grandfather's cracking the whips. Grandfather is cracking a whip on their wife. It just was biblically accurate. It was peaceful, and they were happy in it, and it was cute, and it was sweet, and we've lost that. Women's liberation has destroyed that, and so I like to make fun of, in the right way, I think, of Lydia over there at my little Kentucky Homestead YouTube channel, because she'll go off on, talk about misogyny too much. And Lydia, if you're watching, don't take it personal, okay? I'm just a grouchy old man, okay? It's not you. I'm a hair older than you, okay? And I'm 15 years older than you or whatever it is. And, I've just seen a little bit more, I think, through experience, and I'm maybe more in tune to history because that's one of my interests. And the white male patriarchy must be destroyed. Come on, man, wake up. There was a time. See, but she's not going to see it the same way because she's, I don't think I gotta be careful. People who don't, I don't want to go put somebody in a box, but let me just say it this way: people who don't have their lives in tune with biblical principles, not saying I'm perfect in that way, but I want to be, right? But people who don't aspire for that, I think they're going to have a completely different barometer, and for everything. Hello, and that's where we're at in Western civilization. That's why everything's going to crap. Too many generations of that, you know? And so you've got all these generations of people, now my grandparents, no divorce. My parents don't want to go there. But like, how many people have you known that are divorced? And in my experience, what I see as a core of things that lead to divorce, forget what the books say, but a woman wanting to be equal with the man, okay, in every way. But as Bob Dylan said it in the movie, what was the movie he wrote, starred and directed in? Masked. I can't say the word masked. Masked and Anonymous was a movie that Bob Dylan wrote and starred in and produced. Anyway, he produced it. But he said in the movie, one of the great lines was that when an inferior people seek to become equal, it's a takeover. Okay, they will not be equal. They're going to seek to be actually superior. So that was really deep. And I always thought of him being like a big time liberal, for lack of a better term. So I think women's lib is actually about a takeover. It's y'all ever watch Hannah Pearl Davis, Pearl YouTube channel, just Pearly Things. She's a bit profane at times, so just I want to be careful with that. I like Pearl, Hannah Pearl Davis, otherwise known as Pearl. I like her. And sometimes I wonder if she's just found her niche and that, she doesn't actually believe everything she says because she's so anti-woman and she's a woman and she's so pro-man. You know what I mean? Maybe it's just the season because I think people are getting fed up with all the nonsense that's gone on for generations and it's all finally coming out at this moment in time for whatever reason. But yeah, she's always ripping on, like women who want to lead their man and how men are simps and whatnot and how ridiculous it is. And look, I've known men, even men in my family that I've seen, tangentially, okay? And I've seen how it goes when a woman runs a man. It ain't pretty, okay? And it leads to, in my opinion, it leads to destruction in some ways. And so, sometimes it's just, seeds are planted. So thank you for that. And that's my explanation on why I said that all women are crazy. I didn't literally mean that. I was trying to make a joke. Or was I? Just kidding. Demons come from the Greek word daimon, meaning evil, unclean spirits. Yeah, there were some evil, unclean spirits down at Henson Creek. Gosh, there's stuff that I know. And there's stuff that I may tell someday, and there's stuff that I'll never tell. I can't say never tell, but like there's something that I'm about demons or something that happened that it's not my place to tell the story. And if this person wants to tell it, like it's crazy. And I've got some of it on video, like, but I can't put that video out. It's just, I can't. If you understood, you'd be like, oh yeah, I see that. But like, dude, there was some demonic activity, like not even, okay, I think that's fine. Not even like, there was some demonic activity when I was there in 2023 that was not even like that covert. It was crazy, man. It was like, there was some spiritual warfare, like no question. Aaron is obsessed with the truth, in my opinion. Oh, Gail Sharp, how dare you. Lord God, protect Aaron and his family from every side, head to toe, from his coming and his going. Please, let's all pray for Aaron and his family. MC Rousseau, 777. I don't know who you are. I don't know if you're a man, if you're a woman. Not that it matters. In my mind, for some reason, when I see this, I always think it's a woman, but I don't know. But I like what you say, I do. I really like what you say and how you say it. Like, you've been like spot on, man. Depression or has used some math. I don't know about. Yeah, okay. Anyways, yeah, YouTube flagged that and wanted me to decide on whether or not to delete that one. And I left it up. Glenview Top. So, man, it's like, is that a test? Okay. I'm going to remove that. Just maybe that's the best thing to do. So at least I read it. The truth will set you free. Dude, okay, here we go. I'm just kind of scrolling down. So much corruption in this world. We need a man of God to stand up. Thank you so much, Aaron. May the Lord reward you 100-fold and protect you. I don't know if I'm a man of God. I want to be, though, okay? Missy Bird says, I love Casey County, and hate this, and I hate this all so much. I love Casey County too. Um, you know, um, blank stare. I'm trying to think of the quote. Oh, evil triumphs when good men do nothing. And I don't claim to be a good man. Okay, I don't. But I ain't giving up on Casey County yet. By the way, kind of hacked off with the Amish and Mennonites, man. Like, culture of cowards, man. Not all of them. I'm not all. Okay, but I don't know if it's 38% or 62%, but I've seen some doggone cowardly behavior down here. And I've seen some good stuff too. Trust me, like I have. But it's like, if you've got a guy down the creek who's a Loch Ness monster, don't sell him your sawdust, okay? Or don't give it to him. If you feel it in your gut and suspect something's wrong, something surely is. Yeah, gut's usually right. Please save the children. Well, there are 3 children that are no longer around Titus Morris and never will be, and at least until they're adults if they choose to be. And Titus Morris, I got a question for you, Titus. When was the last time you saw your stepkids? Yeah, you were breaking the law when you did it because you were breaking the no contact order. And Stephanie, that's one of the reasons why you lost your kids. Yep. And Stephanie, don't shoot the messenger. I'm not the one that made you lose your kids. You and your choices are why you lost your kids. So, and it ain't going to change. So good luck with that. You leave it to God while human beings are being abused and martyred. We are God's instruments. There goes that MC Rousseau. Yep. Pretty awesome stuff. That person's like spot on. I do not listen to ministers or Christians who say, just pray for them. They don't want to be involved. These men are weak. Can you expand on that, Glenview Tops? Every day is a gift, isn't that right? Man, I just feel lifted up right now. Love y'all. Poor baby Ruth. Yeah, I don't know what to say there. I want to choose my words carefully. I don't ever really outwardly think, that I want to see a baby taken away, but it's like, ugh. The decisions, man. Is that a safe place for people? Is that a safe place for adults? He does not look Amish. He looks unclean and unkept. Greasy long hair, brown on fingernails, and unwashed hands. Yeah. Unwashed hands like eagle's claws. Okay. They live in third world conditions. Why has no one taken that baby away yet? That's a timely. I don't know. MC Rousseau 777 says, test all things. I like that. Yeah. I think we're supposed to test all things. Pray for discernment always. MC Rousseau 777 says, she will probably divorce him according to past behavior. 67% of second marriages end in divorce. Well, one of the Amish neighbors, allegedly, not so allegedly, one of the Amish neighbors, as I understand it, had a number of conversations with somebody I know, and over the years, and it was like, yeah, every time Jeff was in Indianapolis and Stephanie was here, you'd see Titus riding back and forth, like late at night. This was going on for years, people. When Titus told me on the morning of June 15th, 2024, that 7 years ago in 2017, that Stephanie wanted to move in with him and to avoid the appearance of evil, bring her mother, and her children, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, Titus has no filter. That's one of the things about Titus. Like, he asked me not to put that up, for quite some time, and I guess I didn't. I waited until like September of 2024 to put that up. But how is it that you are that out of touch with reality that you're just letting it out? That, oh yeah, like we were hooking up in 2017 or trying to. She was going to move in with me, but yeah, nothing wrong with that. Like, no filter. I think I've said this before. If Titus did not have Stephanie there to edit out his worst, it would be full blown like, psychosis. And guess what? She edits out the worst, and I think you're seeing full blown psychosis. It's just not as bad as what it could be. It's pretty bad, man. If you watch their channel on a daily, like, I'd say 8 to 15% of the time, there's something insane said. Okay. And again, this isn't a Bible study made for children usually. We know there was someone in prison for things that went on in Randy and Brenda's house. What can I say about that? On Halloween of 2023, so 11 days after I left Titus's, how crazy is that? And like 5 days before Stephanie and Jeff separate, a Hawaiian man, there was a trial for a Hawaiian man who was convicted of sexually abusing a child in Randy and Brenda's home. You can't make this stuff up. The timing was impeccable. Yeah, and I believe he got 15 years for that. And this is just stuff that we know about, okay? And there's stuff that I know that I can't say because I can't, it would it's so specific. If I mentioned certain things, he'd be like, oh, it's that person. But with Titus, it might be 20. In my mind, he would know, but he'd be like, oh, is it that person? Or is it, is it that part of the phone book? Yeah, you're welcome, Titus. Depose me. I sent Peter an email. Please pray that he sees the truth and stop promoting darkness. Yeah, when Peter's that big, who knows what percentage of the emails ever get to him. That's one of the problems when you get to be a big YouTuber. How do you communicate how do you receive messages? You know what I mean? It's so difficult. Please pray that he takes them videos down. I also sent him a few short videos. That's pretty cool. Ruben probably just needs somewhere to stay. Yeah, it's so weird. I always thought that Ruben, in my mind, when I was there in 2024, I always thought Ruben, in my mind, was like a 60-year-old Paraguayan man. I had no idea. But Ruben said that? I didn't know that. Well, okay, when it comes to Ruben appearing to be so naive and gullible, that's what we all thought about Titus. Like, just throw all that out the window. Start looking at everything as being majorly under suspicion. Oh, and by the way, there's another wanted fugitive, allegedly. Stop. Go away, Nat. But I can't go into that right now. I'm not saying it's there at Titus's, but time will tell. So I always say that I know more than I can say. He said he was using some of the wood for the upper room and some for the house of prayer. Where did he say that? I mean, probably. Well, my question is, how much of the materials that were spent by the GoFundMe donors on the House of Prayer, how much of that was actually laundered to build the secret home on Stephanie's land? Right? There's no question. It's come to my knowledge that Titus was seen moving windows from the House of Prayer to Stephanie's secret land. I've got the date. I've got the time. Just saying. And he looked like he had his hand caught in the cookie jar. Now, that doesn't mean he stole or laundered materials from the House of Prayer, but in my mind, he's highly understood that. Yeah, Ruben does seem to be doing a lot of work over there. They want workers to come help them. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Yeah, if you're dumb, you don't mind working and being a slave or whatever, and you want to have a diet where you lose your ability to make rational thoughts. I had a college boyfriend last name Kaufman. Wow. Finley's mom. Yeah. So Steve Henson told me some stories about a man named Kaufman, friend of the cult, and being at the 20-year high school reunion. I can't say it because it's hearsay. You know what I mean? Like it's a story of a story. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but in my mind, it's hearsay. I'm not going to say it, but it's just ridiculous. All right. If you only knew how close he lived, Like I can see him from this property. I can see his place from this property. It's so strange. Like this county is so small. It's so weird. He got on and asked for money to pay for Stephanie's wages while she was staying with his parents. Yeah. Yeah. She's all about the money. Yeah. A grifter will never change. I agree with that, Finley's mom. YouTube reality show. Thank you, Kimberly. You know she's on Medicaid for all that prenatal and postnatal care, so I wonder if Titus is now on the birth certificate. Yeah, Titus is not Amish, so I'd love to know how all this is sorted out with him having a birth certificate and a driver's license. I was told by someone in the Amish community that approximately in like January of 2025, Titus was driving Stephanie's van. And I don't know if this is true, but this is what I was told, and I believe the person that told me. But he ran the stop sign at the intersection of Chestnut Level Road and South Fork Creek Road, which is like 3 miles from Titus, maybe 2.5, and almost hit this Amish family who was there, like in their buggy. And that's believable to me. I mean, maybe he's got a driver's license. I mean, this is the thing. It's not illegal to lie to people on YouTube. You know what I mean? It can become illegal if you're committing fraud, but it's just not. It's not illegal for the media to lie to you. So you know what I mean? Like you got to see all this through that lens. Don't trust people on YouTube. I mean, I think I'm telling the truth. Trust me, but that's up to you. Have they asked for money for medical bills? No, they haven't. Maybe they're smart enough not to do that. That's crazy. I guess that's why they've all Amazon lists. Yeah, I'd like to see both of them get jobs. That'd be interesting. Yeah, he's a professional horseshoer, though. She's a name. Titus has a cell phone. I think y'all figured that out by now. But he likes to say it's the phone that they make videos with. No, it's your cell phone, Titus. They want the best stainless steel, copper, wool, and cotton. They don't seem happy about the gifts unless it is. They want the Redmonds, sea salt, the pecans, walnuts, cashew, and best grains. Yeah, of course they do. Yep. Hello, Aaron. I am a Christian woman. Okay, I knew it. Maybe you mentioned you're a woman, but I just been envisioning you as a. Wait, where are you? Are you in France? I can't remember. I really can't remember. I'm so sorry. Con artist, New Zealand. Who's Jeff? Well, Jeff, your profile is just not very. Should I engage with this person whose YouTube handle is conartist_New Zealand NZ? We'll see. Who's Jeff? That's Stephanie's ex-husband. Let's see. I'm not implying, but I'm just saying that Titus Morris has confessed to things in court in that way. Hello, Mandy. Good to see you back on here. Mandy's from France, I think. Aren't you? Okay. I can't believe I got 49 people watching. That's so cool. Hey, I'm caught up. Regarding driver's license, it's unlawful to travel, so as long as it's not for commercial purposes without a driver's license. So I'm caught up. What do I say at this point? I don't know. This might be a good place to end. I hate to walk away when I've got 51 people watching. When we're in this place together. There's so much to say, and y'all are still here. Wow. Let's see. Wanted fugitive. Titus chased me with a chainsaw. Yeah. Oh, I got one for you. I've not mentioned this before. I was told last fall. I've got to be careful. Well, I was told this. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just telling you what I was told. Okay. I'm just going to be careful how I phrase this. I was told by someone in Casey County that Titus had to... Stop. Let me start over. New thought, different situation, same situation, different situation, same situation. I was told last fall by someone in Casey County that someone went to a alleged drug dealer and acquired some illicit substance with the express intent to plant it on my vehicle next time I came to Casey County. And then that was last fall, like roughly 5-6 months ago. So I come here 5-6 months later, and I'm here 4 days, okay? On maybe the second or third time I had gone down that road in the 4 days, okay? By the way, I go to Somerset. I don't need to explain like my legitimate purposes, okay? But I travel down that road for a number of reasons. I have friends down that road. I have journalistic purposes down that road, including at Titus's and not including at Titus's. I've gone to eat down that way and so on. I've gone to church down that way and so on. I don't need to explain this, okay? But on the 18th, I went looking for my dogs. Now, I wanted to make sure they weren't down there. And because Titus admitted in a video that he tried to stomp Archie to death 6 months ago. He actually admitted that in a video. That's how no filter he is. He doesn't even understand that you can't say that on YouTube, especially when you're a Christian, especially when you're a so-called minister of the gospel. Okay, PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals. For once, I'm calling your name. But so Titus, if you watch that video where he said, the video is called I owe the public an apology, but he didn't say just only. I absolutely owe the public apology, I think is the name of the video. He admits to cutting down a tree and blocking the road, okay? And he admits to trying to cut down a second tree to block me in from both sides. Now, he said the first time he described it in that apology video, he says it two different ways, okay? And one has to be true. But he said that he wanted to, the first time, I believe, he said he wanted the sheriff to come and mitigate the situation between us, which is a laugh for a lot of reasons. For one, police don't mitigate situations, and you know what I mean? They don't come and be the mitigator, you know what I mean? It just doesn't work that way. And then like the second time, he said he actually wanted to drop the trees, trap me in, and I would have to walk away. So, I think the latter is the most truthful. He wanted me ideally to walk away from my vehicle and I'd be trapped. Like, I guess maybe go for a chainsaw, so I could get myself out. And that was his thinking. And then maybe something be planted on my vehicle. That's how these people roll. I do believe that. And Titus, if you want to depose me, go for it. I bring receipts, and good luck getting any of this sealed because y'all don't have custody of Stephanie's kids anymore. So you've tried that game before. I mentioned earlier that Stephanie in May and June of 2025, Stephanie, I got subpoenaed because Stephanie was attempting to take out a protective order against me because I was walking down the road and Titus would come out and engage with me and he would go on camera, and yet he would call that harassment. It happens over and over and over. I'll be walking down the road. I'll be driving the golf cart down the road. Maybe I'm going to visit friends for dinner like I did last night. Maybe not, okay? Maybe I'm going to go out to the house of prayer and try to live stream, which I tried to do on one Sunday. I just couldn't get a connection. You might have seen that live stream attempt. It is working here, which is nice. These are journalistic purposes. The road, unfortunately, is in public. And unfortunately, you can film, you can photograph from the road. It's not a crime. It's not harassment. And when Titus comes out and chooses to engage with me, it chooses to go on camera over and over and over and invites me to his house on so many occasions that he's done. When I say numerous, more than twice. Like, it might be 5 or 6 or 7 times, I'd have to look, that I've got documented, okay? Where he would invite me to come back to the house. And dude, I ain't going on that land. Like, are you serious? Like, I'm not going there in the daylight. Like, there's just no way I'm gonna touch his land for so many reasons. Like, yeah. Anyway, getting off on a tangent here. Heck, I forgot my thought. But such is the life of going unscripted. If he can stomp a helpless animal, and it will come to me, or a horse, then the reprobate will hurt anyone if given the right circumstance. Yeah, Archie's a bit of a turkey, aren't you, Arch? He's a bit of a turkey. Hey. Yeah, I mean, look at him. He's so evil. No, I mean, he's, he's a bit of a turkey, but I mean, how could you stomp that little, that face or whatever? He's so sweet. Come here, turkey. You want to say hi? Come here. Come here. How could you not love that face? I mean, look at him. Look at him. Say hi, Archie. Say hi to YouTube. It's interesting. He did say in that video, Titus did say that he wanted to kill my dog, and yeah, I just can't. Again, he has no filter. How could you be so out of touch with reality to realize that you can't, even present yourself as a Christian and admit to such things, Okay, regarding Titus and Stephanie, you do realize what you're doing is predatory in nature. Yeah, con artist, you're a con artist. Get off my channel. I don't want to hear it. If you want to go and back up a horse banger, go do it on their channel, but get off mine, Don't want to hear it. You might even be Stephanie or Titus. So your name, con artist New Zealand or whatever, it fits. Okay. Yeah, Archie's pretty cool. And he's a turkey, Archie's a mess. Come here, Jake. Come here. Oh. Yeah, Jake has not been the same since I ran over him. It was April 5th of last year. And I don't know why he's not looking at the camera. I guess because he can't see it. But say hi, Jake. Say hi. I'm so happy that I've got him. Like right here, right now in this moment, you can't tell there's anything wrong with him. But he chooses not to go. He chooses not to go run. Like if I'm out, like if I would be on the golf cart and I'd be going, he would choose to be on the golf cart with me, as opposed to Archie. Archie wants to run with the golf cart, and Archie's almost 10 years old. He'll be 10 in May. And so, I'm really thankful and lucky that Jake is able, just to be here and to be able to walk and everything, because he had multiple broken ribs and a dislocated shoulder. He's probably got arthritis. Gail Sharp keeps saying that she's hopeful that he can just come out of it and he could be totally healed, and I am too. But I'm really thankful. I just wish that he was still able to do all the things that he could do. He used to be able to jump up in the back of my truck, and now he can't. For the longest time, he struggled with stairs, but now stairs aren't that much of a problem. But anyway, okay. No, the law is going to not perceive it that way. The law is going to perceive it that, this guy chased me with a deadly weapon after blocking the road. He committed at least 3 crimes that day. Criminal confinement, blocking a public road, and, menacing. I don't think there's any question. A felony or 2 and at least a misdemeanor there. So the proof is in the pounding. Is that pudding or pounding? The horse pounding? Yeah, he's a child abuser. So, Mr. Con Artist, I'm going to keep calling you that because that's your name. But he's a child abuser, and he needs to be exposed, and I'm going to be on the right side of history. So, put that in your pipe and smoke it there, Mr. Con Artist. Aaron films when he goes to his neighbors for his own protection. I have to. Because he knows how they are. They are sneaky, mean, hateful, jealous, and desperate for money, and more than likely on drugs. Yeah, well, say what you want there, Con Artist. Well, yep. So, like I said, I'm going to be on the right side of history here. So, going down the road is not a crime, and filming from the road is not a crime. And Titus choosing to engage in it, that's his choice. So, there you go. I think I'm going to wrap this up. I have not eaten today. I have found that I think the best way to live is live on an empty stomach. There is coffee here. I have had coffee, but I think I'm going to go to Sunny Valley and get a sandwich, or not. I can't believe I've been on here for almost 3 hours. This is amazing. Anybody else want to say anything before I go, or ask any questions? This is your moment. You got any questions, y'all? Whew. What else is there? I mean, there's always so much. Oh, goodness. Thank you, Glenview Tops. I appreciate it. I used to live on Glenwood Court. So, whenever I see Glenview, I lived on Glenview Court for 8 years. It was a great street in New Albany, Indiana. It was one of the best streets, actually. I owned a house on one of the nicest streets in all of New Albany. And it was interesting. Like, you won't believe how much I paid for the house, and like some of the houses were just incredible, just so beautiful. And they were all from like the 30s and 40s. And they were, high-end houses, and we paid almost nothing for it. It was so interesting. How old is Titus? He turned 34 December, I think the 13th. I think that's right. So yeah. Yep. No, I disagree. Sunny Valley does not have the best sandwiches. Actually, Casey County Discount has the better sandwiches. I think they're a hair cheaper, and I think they're a hair better. I can't really prove that off the top of my head other than just they are better. They're a hair better. At Sunny Valley, you get the whole Mennonite experience, and that's fine if that's what you want. So, yep. So, what else can I tell you? There's so much, but maybe I'm tapped out here. I just hate to walk away when there's 45 people watching. That blows me away. I can't believe you're still sitting here listening to me babble on about nothing at this point. Again, if you have any questions, before I tap out, before I turn this off, this is your moment. So I really appreciate you all. I appreciate your support and your encouragement. And, the truth will come out. A lot of stuff has happened. State police were here yesterday. They weren't here, but anyway, good Lord. I never saw them, but there's just so much always going on. It's so ridiculous up here in Casey County, otherwise known as Weddell County. Yeah. What else can I tell you? I've only told you 1% of it. Yeah, I do believe I'm seeing fruit of a international, crime network. I do believe that. Where does Stephanie visit with the children? I can't say that. So, yep, that's not my place to say. But, yep. I think I went into this earlier. I started to say this and I got sidetracked. But this is what I imagine. Could be narcotics, could be human trafficking, could be child trafficking. I would imagine these type of people are just plain out opportunists. They probably have legitimate businesses or illegitimate businesses dovetailing with these, illegal activities, and they're thick as thieves. You start seeing patterns of people and whatnot, and I'm pretty good at pattern recognition, I'd like to think. So, just saying. Oh, hey, sad Mr. Sharkey. Yeah, there was some truth dropped in this. Yeah, I'd recommend watching the whole thing and not just because it's, gets me views or whatever. Yeah, good to see you, man. Mr. Sharkey. Yep. All right. I guess I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you all so much for being here. Like, this is cool. To speak to 47 people or whatever, 50 people at once, that's pretty cool. So, yep. I feel like I'm forgetting something. I don't know. But I appreciate y'all. There's Anna Shaker. Not exactly just me, private or public. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, yeah, I can't say. Yeah, I can't go into that, Anna. It's not my place to say. That's too private in my thinking. Glenview Top says, I am thankful for strong men like you watching the patterns. I appreciate that. Yeah, man. I'm trying, I want to say something real quick about Lydia at My Little Kentucky Homestead YouTube channel. I reached out to Lydia, I think it was like January or February of 2024. And I'm not trying to stir up any, nonsense. I'm not trying to offend her. but we had a misunderstanding. But basically, I don't know if I ever told this on this channel before, but I was at a point and I was kind of hacked off, and I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna like just tell everything to somebody. I want somebody to interview me. And I don't think she would have been the best person for that now, but in the moment, I reached out to her and we almost did it. We almost made that happen. And but then I backed off because she wouldn't give me her contact information and her full name, and I was just like, kind of weird. Like, you either trust me or you don't. But anyway, I think I need somebody who is maybe more investigative in nature, and tries to get their own information. And maybe that's not her gift, I don't know, or her interest. But anyway, Lydia, I think you've got me blocked on your channel, and if you do, which I think you do, that's fine. I understand your perspective. Please unblock me unless you, still don't want me to comment, but because I won't necessarily be good or bad, but I'm just saying, like I reserve the right to just say the word misogyny whenever I want, and that's my sense of humor. So, misandry. There you go. You say misogyny, and I'll say misandry, and somehow we'll all get along, or not. But that's okay. But I do want to say, Lydia, I could give you some more information than what maybe you have. And I think sometimes, anytime that somebody goes and repeats something they've seen in somebody else's channel, unless they're extremely careful, it's easy to maybe misconstrue things or misunderstand things. Because even I say things sometimes that are easily misunderstood, if that makes any sense. So, yep. So, yeah. So, yeah, please unblock me, Lydia. And if you're on her channel, please bring that up to her. Tell her to unblock me, because I don't think she's seen my comments. I'll just say this, like, whenever I block somebody from my channel, like, it's not easy to go and unblock them. You can, but you have to consciously remember who they were and the context of it. Then you actually have to go someplace deep to it's not like right there in the front of YouTube. I found it to be kind of difficult. I'd be like, where was that? Like, you'd almost have to Google it, and then it was almost difficult to find. But anyways, we love you, Aaron. About a closing prayer. Okay, yeah, MC Rousseau 777 is suggesting a closing prayer, and I almost did that, and I'm a little bit scared to do that. It's vulnerable, but I need to do it, and so it just needs to be done. And I appreciate you suggesting that, MC Rousseau, because I should do that. Okay, I'm gonna take off the hat, and you'll see my unkept hair here. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this gift of YouTube to be able to communicate with like-minded people and Christian people. We are commanded to expose evil, and we know that according to Scripture, we wrestle not with flesh and blood, but with principalities and spiritual wickedness in high places, and that's what we're struggling with here. That's what I'm fighting with here, and I call it Weddell County. And Father, I know that I'm not perfect, and I don't know. Sometimes I hope, Father, that I might be like a minor, tiny little piece of, maybe I got a little piece of Samson in me, and maybe what I'm doing is to your liking, and that you see it, and that you protect me. And I know, Father, that you give us our conscience, and it comes from God, and I do feel led to do what I'm doing. And I thank you so much, again, for this gift of YouTube and the support from these people, and the strength and the courage you give me to do what I'm doing. And I don't, Father, I know that I can't make everyone see the truth, and not everyone needs to see the truth. It's not necessarily relevant. But Father, I just ask that if there's anyone that can be inspired by this to do better, or to make the world a better place, for children or for people in general. Or especially if I can in some way inspire people to want to get closer to God through what I'm doing in this way. I just ask that you strengthen me in that. And I'm so thankful for this day, this beautiful day, and my health, and that I've got a roof over my head. And I'm just so thankful that you've protected me through all this. And please bless the people who are watching and commenting, and especially Gail Sharp and MC Rousseau and Glenview Tops, Truth Pilgrim, Gentry Wrangle over there in Scotland, Gil and Tracy Penman. I could go on and on and on. There's some people I definitely don't want to name, but for different reasons. But thank you so much for this channel, Father. And when I started this channel, I dedicated this channel to God. That video is long gone. If I do get my old channel back, it'll be there, and you can see that. It's the first short I ever made of my life. The first YouTube video I ever made, I dedicated the channel to Jesus in my own little beyond category way. But okay, thank you, Father, for this day. Amen. I needed to do that. So, yep. I was afraid to do it. I don't know why, but it is what it is. So now there's more comments. Yeah. Okay, Gail is saying, amazing live, Aaron. Gail Sharp is beyond category. And I just spat, but there you go, Gail. Oh, Gail, I wish I could say more, but anyway. Yeah. Even if the creator isn't Christian, they have a following like Peter does, even if the creator isn't Christian. And they all send Titus money regardless. I don't know. Maybe you mean subscriber. I don't know. To Titus, I don't know. Excellent live stream, Aaron. Thank you so much. Keep fighting the good fight, Aaron. Eric says you are against a very wicked principality. I know God will show favor in time. Yeah, I agree. I come back to the whole Epstein thing. Not on my watch, man. Like, there are people that, let me get my hat on. My hair looks terrible. There's a reason I was wearing a hat. There are people that I've talked to who have money or have a channel or have a position or anything to lose. Or they have fear. And buddy, I tell them about this and they want to run and not hear any facts about this, and maybe they're able to help. I've seen so much cowardly behavior out of men in this world and women. And that's what's wrong with this country. We got so wealthy and we got so cowardly and we got overfed, too much abundance. We lost touch with God. We got arrogant. We got fat and lazy. And now we're afraid of losing what we got, and we don't want to stick our neck out for anybody. And I'm not trying to beat my own drum here. I'm not trying to promote myself or build myself up in anybody's minds. But it's like, listen, people, it's not hard to do what I'm doing. It really isn't. Like I said, at the end of the day, no one gets off the planet alive, So live today like today's your last day. And that's kind of what I do whenever I walk down Henson Creek Road, because it could be my last day. Yeah. Anyway, and wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if, there's somebody up there watching, they're kind of like, oh, look at that. Look at this over here. Look at that situation over there in Casey County. Look at this guy. I don't know if they call me an idiot or what they call me, but they're like, look at this. Like, there's some gut there. There's something. There's some little kernel that they can work with. And they're like, you know what I mean? I like to think that. I like to think it's not going unnoticed. You know what I mean? Because I know how the things go in the corporate boardroom. Like, yeah, there's this guy down in the mailroom who he's got some fire to him. And, he's not really ready for middle management. You know what I mean? But let's make something work. Let's look down the 2 or 3 year plan and work something out for that guy. Oh, Ben says, excellent live stream. We love you, Aaron. I love you too, Ben. I appreciate that. Yeah. Wow, a lot of the love coming through. Love Archie and Jake. Hey, but Jeffrey. They are good boys. I wish they could understand that they were being seen by all these people because they would act differently. They love people, man. God is not predatory people such as you. Your videos prove your con artist. Stop being a con artist. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know why I'm reading his comments. It's just so funny. Aaron, I'm probably close to your age, and what you're saying is 100% correct. We live in a very sad place today. Yeah, I agree. It always cracks me up when I see Eric's, YouTube photo or emoji or whatever, and it's a horse. I'm like, did you make that for this channel? Like, because of Titus? Praise the Lord for your full set of beautiful hair. Yeah, I don't know why I have hair. My maternal grandfather, he was bald. Chester Eaton, great man. Miss him. I think about him almost every day. He was great, and he had a lot of influence in my life. And anyway, he was bald, and my paternal grandfather, James Atz, he was also bald. And my dad's essentially, he's very balding. So my barber in Louisville, when I worked in Louisville, he'd always tell me, he was like, he was on Chestnut, just down like a block or two down from, a block and a half from the federal building. And I'd go down there and get a haircut. And he'd always tell me, like, every single time, I don't think you're ever going to be bald. I was just like, yeah, sounds good to me. And then I'd be like, but both my grandfathers are bald. He's like, yeah, you're not going to be bald. And so far, he's been right. Same guy one time was giving me, he was shaving my neck, and I swear, he like, right on my ear, and just blood. And I kept thinking that had to be intentional. Because it went so deep, man. I don't know why he would have done it, but I don't know. There are tests, man, I'll tell you what. But, I didn't make a big deal about it. I tell you what, it flowed. I had blood. It's just so ridiculous. Yeah, con artist, it does seem to be, it's truth. I shouldn't have read it. As soon as I saw his name, I was like, well, he's called con artist, so he's probably a con artist. Might be Titus. Oh, Aaron, you can post these memes all day. I take great pleasure in watching them. Mandy says, the world is being brainwashed into complacency. Don't confront, no matter how evil. Thanks for not backing down, Aaron. I don't think she meant to say confront. Anyway, I get it. I get what you're trying to say, I think. Ignore con artist. He is a con artist. Yeah. Okay. I guess this is a good time. I'm past 3 hours, and this has been like such a fast 3 hours. I cannot believe it. All right. So thank you all so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Yep. Jehovah is King. Oh, I agree with that. All right. Con artist.